We're live, John. Hello and welcome to RPG Research. I'm your host and lore master, because for this game it's lore masters rather than game masters, Hawke Robinson. And today is one of the weeks when we do applied gaming. We are introducing a few folks to the One Ring role-playing game. Katie's played it before. She's a longtime veteran, doesn't play a lot, but this is the one she likes to play. This and Discworld. We GM'd Discworld. He also GM'd No Thank You Evil. Mm-hmm. But this is your favorite, isn't it?
This is my favorite.
With your favorite character. And Dan? Yes, Dan's here. Woohoo! 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
I heard right. I felt my ears burning.
You can sit quiet.
Move on down the chairs.
Hang on a second. I don't know that.
No. Is this punishment for me coming in late? I have to sit right next to the teacher.
The lore master.
Okay.
How many character sheets? 9.
There should be 2 left.
Because I have to sit there when we're doing the broadcast.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing.
There's 3 left. Okay.
Belly.
Oh, yeah, okay. So they're the same as the AIM characters, but they're different systems.
Oh, okay. I was told not to say the bride anymore.
Okay.
He likes to play the bride because the bride can just go.
I can grunt very well.
Yeah, pick something that'll stretch yourself a little more.
I've only played the bride twice.
So we're doing today the One Ring role-playing game, and this is an introductory version. Now, I was fortunate enough when they were first releasing it in the United States. I pre-ordered it from Cubicle 7, and we were one of, like the first 70 or so people in the United States to get access to it. And it wasn't available to the rest of the public till many, many months later. A little bit after, there were some Gen Con folks, and then there were then people who pre-ordered didn't get it till November, December, whatever. It took a long time for them to get it out there. So we were very fortunate to get that early access. And so that was 2013, I think. And we streamed live trying to figure out how to play it. And that is up there on our YouTube channel, making all kinds of mistakes. But we liked what we saw. And it was the early version that was in the box with the slip cover, with the 2 different booklets and a set of dice that came with it. And we muddled through. And it was about 4, we did 4 broadcasts. So it was 4 sessions to get through the whole thing as we kind of muddled through. Then we ran it at Tolkien Moot, or each year we've run it at Tolkien Moot. And then Brian, who had been somebody of a Christian background who'd stopped role-playing gaming back in the 80s because family had asked him to stop, this brought him back into gaming. This was the gateway drug. He had joined my Tolkien Society years before, and this had a lot of appeal that there was a licensed Tolkien game. So he played it. He liked it. He liked how it really emphasizes the Tolkien feel. They did Francesco Nepatello is the primary creator of this for the original One Ring role-playing game from Italy. He did a beautiful job. He really did a good job capturing the feel of a Tolkien setting. And he kind of cheated in that he kind of avoids the whole magic and Middle-earth debate, because there are no spellcasting characters for player characters. There are creatures and stuff that have some magical abilities and such, but none of the player characters actually cast any magic. There's no D&D type magic at all. He just pretty much just went, nah, we're not doing it. We're not even going to try. It is such a hotly debated topic in all the other editions of role-playing games. So before this, there's Decipher's Lord of the Rings, not counting fan editions. There's half a dozen fan, including mine. Decipher's Lord of the Rings, really poorly done. They really just got the rights for the board game and card games to make money. Now, the people making the role-playing game, they put their blood, sweat, and tears into it, but they didn't have the company support. And so later, after they put the kibosh on that, that was kept going by Halls of Fire, and so fandom improved the kind of broken system that was Decipher Lord of the Rings. Now, there is one really good supplement that was well recognized, and I, of course, have all of them. It's the Moria box set by Chris Seaman, who has spoken multiple times at Tolkien Moot. He was the editor of the previous version, which was Iron Crown Enterprises Middle-earth Role-Playing, and they had the license for 19 years, or something, 18, 19 years, from 1980-81 until 1999. And so they created, based on Rollmaster, Middle-earth Role-Playing. And so for that many years, that was it for Middle-earth Gaming that was licensed. So he was the editor and co-editor for the second edition MERP, and then he also had put out from 91 to 2001, or 93 to 2001, something like that, Other Hands magazine, which was to support the environment of Tolkien gaming and MERP and such. Then he got a cease and desist because of the Peter Jackson movies and everything that happened with Iron Crown Enterprises. I won't get into that for this show. And that was to free up the license for Decipher, etc., etc. Then Decipher didn't renew the license, and it sat in limbo for a good 5-6 years. Rumor was that Middle-earth Enterprises, Tolkien Enterprises, was demanding 6-digit license figure, and they only give you 5 years, and that's in tabletop role-playing gaming. Good luck making up that cost. I mean, forget production costs. Just the license alone is going to be prohibitive. Nobody really knows the real amount because that's all under NDA and such. Now, there was a prototype D&D Middle-earth. When we had Tolkien 4, John D. Ratliff, who wrote the History of the Hobbit 2-book series, also wrote a whole bunch of TSR and WotC modules and some Cthulhu stuff, I believe. His pen name is I'm forgetting now if it's a Cthulhu name. But John D. Ratliff, look it up. He's written a ton of stuff. They had given him the assignment of working on a team to create a prototype Middle-earth, when they knew the MERP license was going to be coming up and such, create a prototype Middle-earth game system. And they kind of did their own whole thing. And you had the whole boxed mock-up and everything. Never saw the light of day. Spent all that time prepping it. So there's the system that never quite was. And he talks about it at length. If you check out MERPCon 4, aka Tolkien Moot 4, he describes the whole thing in depth. It's on the Tolkien Moot channel. So this big gap happened. A bunch of us I adapted D&D 3.5. I had originally adapted first edition way back when. So I adapted 3.5 to Middle-earth to get my Middle-earth gaming fix because nobody here wanted to learn MERP at the time. Eventually what I did is I brought them in through D&D, and then I slowly migrated them over to MERP with more and more MERP stuff, and they liked it, and then it was the gateway, and I got them all playing not only MERP, but Rollmaster. And they loved it, right? They preferred it. But it was a incremental, nudging. The first hit was free. So anyway, eventually Cubicle 7 stepped up to the plate and got the license. And we didn't know what to expect. Cubicle 7 was kind of an unknown, and they use a lot of different independent people. And never heard of Francesco Nepatello before. He did a great job. And was very responsive. When we had questions, we'd ask him on Facebook and such, and he was very responsive to explaining things. And through that back and forth, they did a revised version, which is this hardcover, because the slipcase some people didn't like. So they put it all in one. I kind of like that it was 2 separate books instead of one big book. But anyway, the revised version has a lot of those fixes, errata and other fixes, and better explanations, and they kind of refine the rules. So it's kind of a 1.5, if you will. So I do recommend you buy the hardcover, not the slipcase older one, because there's a lot of mistakes in the older one that is confusing. The other thing is it's got a better index in the hardcover. Pretty much no index in the slipcover. You had to download this 28-page index or something. So at least it was something. So anyway, the introductory adventure is called the Marsh Bell, and we're going to kind of jump into it. We're doing pre-gens here. John, you've never played TOR? You've played AIM, but not TOR, right? No, you did. Back at Tolkien Moot, a couple of years ago, you played with me jamming, right?
Right.
We did. Was that the Mordor one, or the Undead Witch one, or the Undying Love one? It was the Undying Love one.
It was the Undying Love.
Yeah, it was the Undying Love one. So
I played a halfling that talked a lot.
So yeah, you get a little bit chance to play TOR. And there's a lot of elements that are in AIM. So for those of you who don't understand what I'm saying, TOR and AIM and all this, TOR is the one-ring role-playing game by Cubicle 7. That came first in 2012, 2013, whatever it was. Then 2 years ago? Is it 1 year or two? Look at the copyright on there. Is it 2 years or 1 year ago that AIM came out? We're losing
Yes.
track.
Yes. I want to say it's more than 2 years.
It's not more than, I mean, what do we say? It came out like November, December. Whether it was 1 year or 2 years ago, I can't remember.
The Player's Guide would have been the first one out.
Yes.
So let's
Yeah.
check that.
So,
Because I was still in Florida when that came out.
2016.
3 years.
well, it's just a little over 2 years. Okay, because it was November, December that it came out. So just a little over 2 years. Okay. So they
Look, it's autographed by Bilbo.
so they get the license now in 5-year increments. Each time every 5 years they have to renew with Tolkien Enterprises, which is expensive. I wonder if they got a better deal because it was just sitting there, nobody buying it for 6 years or whatever. So maybe they brought the price down. Who knows?
You need the maps?
Yeah, might as well grab them. Yeah. Actually, I think they're all in a blue folder.
That's the Lake Town.
I think they're actually in one of the kits. I don't think they're up there. Don't worry about it. They're in one of the. They're in the AIM kit.
Oh, okay.
They're in the blue folder with the AIM kit. So, TOR came first. They cranked out a bunch of the books, a bunch of supplements, and they're running ahead. AIM has been trying to rapidly catch up. It's adapted. It's Adventures of Middle-earth. It's adapted D&D 5th edition to Middle-earth using the TOR concepts and merging them together. So if you know D&D 5th edition, it's a layer on top of that. You kind of need the player's handbook to play it, but much of the time you don't. Most of the time you don't. As long as once you know how to play, you usually don't need the player's handbook. You just use the AIM player's handbook. But there were a couple of key things they didn't port over that I was disappointed in. One of the key ones was fellowship focus. Now, each of you take a look at your character sheets and see which fellowship focus you have.
I don't have a fellowship focus.
Oh, because you're a different group.
Yeah.
So take a look at the
It's
pre-gens
actually
and
not
pick
written on the
one.
pre-gens.
Is it not?
I don't see it.
Fellowship Focus is not listed on the pre-gen character sheets.
It might be in your story.
It's on the. They don't have the back page where the fellowship focus goes.
Oh, because the pre-gens are summarized?
Yeah.
Ew. Well, that's annoying.
I have no friends.
I should have checked that first. So originally, Brian Hughesland was going to be GMing, but he realized he double booked something he had to do for school, and because he's a teacher. Yeah, there isn't. Okay, so read your. So let's go through now, Katie. You're going to have to do something different, but go ahead and read your front description of your character aloud.
Baron of the Mountains. You were born into a family of shepherds and hunters near the eastern edge of the Misty Mountains. Since you were a child, you felt a great fascination for the high and snowy peaks, and spent most of your time climbing and looking for new paths over the mountain. After you met Bord and embraced his cause, you chose to protect any friendly traveler that finds himself journeying through the mountain passes in these times of growing peril. So, I guess my focus is Bjorn.
Okay, so
Bjorn's
go
not
ahead and
actually part
write
of it.
somewhere on your character sheet or highlight or something.
Oh, I'm a Bjorn, so.
You're Bjorning. Yeah, no. Yeah, that's not Bjorn. It has to be. Sorry, Fellowship Focus is one of the other characters.
Yeah.
That's just somebody you have allegiance to and such.
That's kind of like saying your Fellowship
We
Focus
may
is
just have to
Gandalf.
have you guys pick one. We'll go through that process because it's an important piece of TOR that they left out of AIM. And so we created a one-page house rule that works with the AIM rules to try to have a Fellowship Focus because it's a great way to feel comradeship to the other characters and with strangers that you've just met. So we'll have to go through that at some point. We'll quickly link you guys up in some way to do that because that's an important feature. I'm surprised that's not in the pre-chans. I'll have to tweak that. John?
I am Bele. When you were a child, your father went north to find the hoard of an ancient dragon and never returned. In his absence, you honed your skills prepared to follow him on the road to adventure. Now you think the day has arrived to take the challenge. You are clever, well-equipped, and without fear. You're ready to go and seek what secret treasures are still hidden in the remote corners of the world.
So Katie has a different background because her character goes all the way back.
So let me summarize Poppy. Poppy Smallborough is a hobbit of the Shire. She was raised by her father and her grandmother. Her mother died in childbirth. Her father was a tradesman, but Poppy was too entranced by the romance of adventure to follow in her father's footsteps and to stay home. Her grandmother taught her how to hunt and use a bow. Her father worries about her, but is proud of his only child.
Cool. All right, Riley.
I am Caranthier, Elves of Mirkwood. Many decades have passed since the last time I left the halls of my king to once again breathe the air of what used to be Greenwood the Great. In the hollowed silence of my underground dwelling, I studied the lives of those who fought the darkness before my town, secretly hoping that I would return to see the moon wane on a world already free from the shadow, but my dreams were obviously just that, dreams.
And Greenwood the Great it's the forest that's now Mirkwood, used to be much, much larger. It's actually much smaller than it used to be. So that's what they're referring to in Greenwood the Great. Okay, Shane.
I am Trotter, little hobbit. You left your peaceful life in the Shire when you ran away to find Gandalf, the conjurer, after he paid a visit to your family at your coming-of-age party. He tried to convince you to turn back, but as you stubbornly refused, he cut something in your eyes that convinced him to let you have your way. You spent many weeks with him until he deemed you ready to find your own path. The dreams you had in the Shire are now your plans for the future. You want to light your broken stem pipe in the halls of Bjorn the Shapeshifter and walk side by side with the wizard Radagast in the fenced garth of Rosgobel. You want to visit the royal palace of Dale and see the throne of the king under the mountain.
Cool. All right, give me just a second here. I'm printing that second sheet that wasn't included for whatever reason.
The story is that they tell are slightly different than the ones in
Is
the
it?
game.
Okay.
Just slightly. And they had also, like, the dwarf here has a Matic. And for the 5th edition version, he does not.
Well, is Matic even a standard 5th edition weapon, though?
It's not a standard one, but it is in the guide, in the player's book.
It does exist in the player's
Yeah.
handbook? Oh, interesting.
For aim or for...
Frame.
Oh, okay. Take one each, please. Oh, no, crap. Take the back one. Let's see. So this is
Take
the
the
front
third
one.
page on the second
Hang on,
page.
it didn't collate them. Hang on.
Carry the two.
So,
So it
since-
appears that my goal is to go around the world and take selfies.
There you go.
All right, now
Been
take
there,
one and
done
pass
that.
it around.
Next.
You're one of them.
Given that we are both hobbits, it makes sense to me that we would be each other's fellowship focus.
Oh, definitely. I mean, because like our whole goal is to get out of the Shire and see the wider world.
Yes.
And there's pros and cons to having a fellowship focus, but we highly recommend it.
Yeah. And what's your character's name?
Trotter. I don't have a last name, which is weird.
That's
for
okay.
hobbits.
Trotter.
You're like Madonna.
Actually, your first name is just Trot.
Last name is Kieran.
Of all the ones you could have chosen.
Well, I think this story is pretty bad.
What do you say?
Nice.
What do you say?
So I think this story is pre-Madonna. So.
Oh.
Well played, sir. Well played.
All adventurers share a feeling of loyalty towards each other, but each of them can develop a particular level of companionship with another member of the group. It may be uncommon respect for someone wiser or nobler, a special friendship shared with an old acquaintance, the kinship felt for a fellow countryman, or deep affection for a dear family member. Whatever the nature of the relationship, each player may elect another member of the company as their character's fellowship focus, writing the name of this companion in the appropriate space on the character sheet. Each player is free to indicate one companion of their choice as focus. It can be any other player hero, even one that has already been chosen by somebody else as their focus. The bond doesn't have to be mutual. A hero who has been chosen by another hero as their focus is free to choose another character as their own. A fellowship focus lets a character recover hope without spending fellowship, at the risk of gaining shadow should the focus be harmed or killed. So it's a two-edged sword, like many things. So hope is another feature that isn't an aim. The closest is insight. But hope in TOR is a cumulative thing. You can gain hope over time and use it to various benefits. So having a fellowship focus decreases how much hope you spend and things like that to recover and such. So there are some rules we won't get into here just because it's an introductory one, and that's probably why that's not included in the back. But I think that's a very important one. So think about what would make sense for each of your characters. Whether it's because you're brothers in arms or countrymen, or which is what the hobbits have already picked there. Whatever. But I would like everybody to have somebody have a fellowship focus. Yes.
That's just the DM.
It has to be a player hero.
Okay.
It says that specifically. Smart Alec.
That's not. Yeah.
Wait, what? Yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm not playing any ongoing NPC for that. There'll probably be many different NPCs. So if there was a regular character, then maybe that would make sense. And it could be one that already has them. It's not So fellowship. The life of a hero is one of excitement, but it is often full of hardships and trouble, and burdens easiest to bear when shared with others. For this reason, adventurers of all sorts gather in groups of companions united by a common cause, be it to fight the enemy, to lead a hunt for a prized prey, or to scour the land seeking for a lost or stolen treasure. Representing fellowship, loyalty, and trust, fellowship points and fellowship focuses, shouldn't that be foci?
Yes.
Can be used by all player heroes. Both provide a companion with a way to recover hope points. So hope is an ever-dwindling resource to overcome the many formidable challenges that you're going to face. A player hero who has just started adventuring career is bound to count on quite often. Veterans might come to rely more on their own abilities. To recover their much-needed trust and self-confidence, player heroes should look no further than their own companions. Points taken from the fellowship pool can be spent to refresh a character's hope, while the company of a hero's fellowship focus can allow them to recover points for free. Fellowship points. The number of points in a fellowship pool available to a company of heroes at the beginning of the game is equal to the number of heroes in the group. Grab that right there, please. That black case, please. Members of the company may recover spent hope by tapping into the fellowship pool. For every fellowship point spent, a character may raise their hope score by 1. To do so, a player must get permission from at least half the other members of the company. Okay, so which colors? Is it upside down? Okay. Don't spill it. So let's use the blue ones for the fellowship points. So go ahead and have 5 of those.
Total?
Yeah. And so that's just kind of the middle of the table. No, that's the fellowship pool. That's what everybody can draw from as a group as needed. If this consensus cannot be found, they may either agree not to spend any points or spend them anyway and gain a shadow point for each fellowship point used. So you can go ahead and say, forget it, I don't care what you guys say, I'm going to take one. But then you gain a shadow point for doing so. Yes, those are shadow points.
I reviewed the shadow point.
Players may recover any number of hope points up to their maximum hope score. Do you guys have hope scores on these pre-gens?
Yes.
Okay.
Mine's 10.
What's yours?
7.
11.
It's cynical, aren't you?
I thought I was normal.
12.
Okay.
Well, the bottom.
I'm kind of like super optimistic, what's
I
over
hope
there? Okay, what's over there?
No, I have
As long as
17.
there are fellowship points left. A player may tap into a company's fellowship pool at any time. This means that a character can recover some of their lost hope, even as they exchange blows with a hostile creature, or as they bandy crooked words with a cunning diplomat. So at any time, you can do this. Then it has a little example. The company's fellowship pool is completely refreshed at the beginning of each new gaming session. So each session, that gets refreshed. Players may take advantage of their entire fellowship pool of points or use just a part of it or not at all. Unused fellowship points do not carry over to the next session. Fellowship focus represents the strong ties between brothers in arms, close kinsmen, and compatriots. Fellowship foci have two effects in gameplay as sources of hope or as sources of inspiration. As sources of hope, the presence of a fellowship focus affects the way a character recovers hope. A player hero recovers 1 point of hero at the end of a session if their fellowship focus did not become wounded, poisoned, miserable, or was harmed in any other way that the lore master considers serious, such as imprisoned by orcs during play, and is in the same location as they are. So basically, if your focus doesn't get hurt badly in any way, then you'll go ahead and recover a hope point just because they did well. It inspires you to feel better. Okay, it's not inspiration anyway. A character gains 1 point of shadow at the end of this session if their fellowship focus was wounded, or 3 shadow points if the focus was killed.
Don't die.
As a source of inspiration, successfully keeping their fellowship focus safe might inspire a character so much that it lets them recover points of hope. If a player spends a hope point to invoke an attribute bonus to accomplish an action that can be considered to directly protect or favor their fellowship focus and succeeds, you immediately recover the hope point you spent. So you get it right back if you succeed. So helping, spending those points to help the one you care about reinvigorates you. So that's how that little tidbit of mechanic worked. Now we shoehorned that into 5th edition, and I think it worked pretty well using inspiration. I like this better between the hope and the shadow and all of that. I think it's less clunky because inspiration's limited to the 1 point and such, but I think we did okay with our adaptation for AIM. Okay, one thing I don't like about TOR, this is the one thing I really don't like that I do like that they did in AIM, is treasure. TOR uses treasure ratings and points, and that's it. You don't get coins and jewels and all that cool stuff. It's abstract points. That is one big pet peeve of mine. I do not like that, and gamers don't like that. Gamers like loot, right? They want the loot. They want the treasure. I mean, look at how much Tolkien wrote. Very specific treasure. He went into detail describing much of the treasure, and especially if it had a history to it and such, which they do have special items in here and artifacts. But even just the pile of coins that had significance in describing it. And here it's abstracted points. So it's one thing about TOR I don't agree with. Luckily, AIM didn't do that. AIM does use actual equipment lists and treasure and everything. So that is a feature that I don't like about TOR, do like about AIM. So it's worth looking at both. And it's easy to fix. It's not that hard to put equipment in TOR, especially now that AIM exists. Just port it over. You can, because they use the same money system with pennies and silvers and all of that. So that's what I'd recommend, is if you feel the way I do and you want treasure in TOR, just use the AIM rules for that and your equipment, and you'll be fine. It'll make for a better long-term experience. So for this game, it won't matter because it's a quick intro, but for a long-term campaign, it really makes a difference. What are you looking for?
Descriptions of my stuff.
Okay.
She's got all these magic items.
You know, I have my lucky armor. And
she is going to be having a bit of an advantage over everybody else with this character. This
So
is
everybody
a
make
tank
her your
halfling.
fellowship focus, and she's going to be the only one that survives.
No, this game, if you guys don't work together, this game's pretty unforgiving. Okay.
No, I want her to be my fellowship focus. As in, if
So
I
this
stay alive, she gets home.
This adventure is taking place in early spring 2946, Third Age 2946. So all of the adventures for TOR and AIM are written in the events shortly after the end of The Hobbit. So the downfall of Smaug, the 5 armies, all of that stuff. And 30-something years or whatever before the events in The Lord of the Rings. So you've got this nice little 30-year or so gap in between, which... it may be Amazon maybe doing all of their stuff around that with flashbacks or something, is the rumor.
We're hoping.
We'll see. It'd be very interesting if it parallels this. So, but this is a time period when a lot is happening because the shadow is starting to grow, and
So Amazon's going to make a series out of this too.
Oh, you didn't know about? Oh, that's right. You don't follow our Tolkien Society broadcasts every month.
No.
well, not yet.
Sorry. So I'm sorry because they're here, and so we have a Tolkien Society. We meet every month, the third Saturday of each month from 1 to 3 p.m.
I'm just gonna have to like take a weekend and watch a lot of videos so I can get caught up.
Well, Tolkien Society goes
A
back
weekend,
to
that's
2006 or something. So,
Okay.
and we are an official Smile, the UK Tolkien Society. But anyway, this Amazon thing is the last few months. Amazon got the license. It was a bid between Netflix and Amazon got the license to do a 3-year. I think I got a 3-year contract, and it's like 300 million, or it was a huge amount of money in advance. I forget now the numbers. We covered it in but yeah. So, and it may pivot around Aragorn and his family. There's a lot of different conjecture. Nobody
Everything's
really
rumor
knows.
at this point.
It's all rumor, yeah. All right, but so this is going to start in Esgaroth, aka the lake town, after it's been rebuilt after the downfall of Smaug. What's going on is 2 dwarven messengers left Lonely Mountain several days ago on an errand. They seem to have disappeared in the long marshes, and the kingdom under the mountain is astir, which of course you're interested in, right? You hope someday to see the king under the mountain. Yeah. So the whole kingdom under the mountain. So that's Erebor, the Lonely Mountain up north, right? That was what the Battle of 5 Armies was fought over. And the news quickly reaches Dale at Esgaroth. There are many reasons why you may feel compelled. We're going to railroad this pretty heavily, to just get you guys through the mechanics and such of understanding the system. So play along, don't sabotage, try to move the game along quickly. Unlike what I did to poor John with Doctor Who and such. Because I want to introduce you guys to concepts that are in here. And I'm skimming this pretty rapidly. So there's 3 parts to it. I'm going to skip one encounter just because of time. It involves a troll. Yeah, we're going to skip that because it's kind of a random encounter thing, and it says use this or don't use it depending upon what's going on with the group. With an ongoing group, I would use it, which we did. But with a short group, we got to cut something, and the troll's going to come out.
I don't remember.
You don't remember Drake being the stonesmith who turned that into, he hollowed it out?
Oh, yes.
So what happens to a troll when they're exposed to daylight?
Turn to stone.
They turn to stone, or when they die. So he was a master bricklayer, smith, whatever, stonesmith, mason. He hollowed it out and turned it into an abode. So his favorite thing was fireplace. He turned it into a really nice fireplace. This stone troll. Which I then had other players run into later, sitting there by the side of that lake and stuff.
About that.
The fireplace looks just like a troll.
In the middle of, on the edge of Mirkwood, right? The middle of nowhere. All right. So, let me get to the introduction. So you've heard that Glóin is frantic to find what happened to these 2 messengers. This sounds like the perfect opportunity to make a name for yourselves, the kind of thing that young adventurers are looking for. Also, that Glóin is a very important dwarf, and that he's offering a reward, and will certainly be grateful if you come to his aid. And, of course, if we have dwarves in the party, which
You have my motto.
you're going to feel that it is your duty to do what you can to help one of their own kind. And again, we're going to kind of skim through. Normally, this is a whole role play section. You could take an entire session just doing this introductory part easily. You go to Erebor, you network with people. You might run into the new master of the town. You might screw up in your conversation with Glóin. There's a whole process of rolling your introduction and encounter with them in discussion and saying the right thing. There's modifiers, so if you're a dwarf, you get a bonus to your rolls. If you're an elf, because they got imprisoned by the elves, you'll get minuses to the rolls. So there's all of this social dynamics that have been systematized in this opening thing. We're going to skim through that just so you get a little introduction to it, but we're not going to go very deep with it. And I'm not going to make it so if you fail the rolls, you then have to go network through town and try to find another way to do it, which it gives you options to do that. Like, there is more than one way to get going on this quest. It isn't just having the meeting and succeeding with Glóin. There's fallbacks. So, so if you're interested in meeting the famous dwarf and you want to get officially involved in the search for Balin and Owen, because you could just go off and do it on your own and go, find out, which some people do. It's easy enough to meet Glowin because he's currently residing in Lake Town in a rich mansion close to Town Hall. He stays there for several weeks every year, acting as an envoy in Esgaroth for the King Under the Mountain. So they then suggest running it from the structure for encounters, which is introduced on page 185 of the hardcover. And I'll just tell you a little bit about that. I'll get to that. So you have the introduction and then the interaction is how an encounter works. This is all encounters. It isn't just social encounters, it can be physical encounters. But the first part is an introduction. At the beginning of most encounters, companions must present themselves, generally attempting to establish their identity in a way that is appropriate to their goals. At this stage, all players must choose whether their characters prefer to introduce themselves individually or if they want to be represented as a group by a spokesman. What do you guys want to do? Individually, or have a spokesperson?
Well, I think for this one, it would make the most sense to have the dwarf do the talking because they've got their.
You don't want to have the elf as a spokesperson?
Ooh.
Hard mode.
Right, that's exactly
I kind of want to try that.
Yeah.
I'd like to see the throne of the king under the mountain in this lifetime.
Yes. Yes, I was being facetious.
Well, I can just talk about
So,
it.
so you guys need to be unanimous about these things. How do you feel about having? Because that means you don't get to role play directly necessarily. He may end up doing all the talking for that entire scene, if that's what you choose. Unless the
I'm
NPC
fine with that.
demands the others of you speak. Okay.
I'm fine with it. I think
Fine.
it's
Okay.
appropriate.
So spokesperson. So that has a variable effect on the role, whether you pick a spokesperson and who the spokesperson is. If you pick the elf as a spokesperson, you're pretty much screwed. If you pick the dwarf, you get some bonuses. So I'm kind of, for you GMs, this lets you know some of the factors here. So
Smallborough.
when you do this, you use different skills for the interaction. So if you, and you might want to roll a lore skill ahead of time to see if you know something about the people you're encountering. That can help you have some useful information. If you have a single spokesperson, usually a roll of awe is used to convey a powerful message without using a lot of words. A player hero using awe to impress someone usually does so to rectify a negative earlier reaction or to quickly set the terms for the coming discussion. When a player has successfully used awe, there won't be many questions regarding their company's identity, as deeds, lineage, and other personal information are usually mentioned for the action to achieve the fullest effect. So, I am such and such, of such and such, of such and such. However, if you choose to introduce yourselves individually, then it would be a courtesy roll for each of you. A polite introduction is the best way to smooth a relationship before asking for support of another form of assistance. It's most useful when already on friendly terms, as to unfriendly ears, a courteous speaker might sound duplicitous. The action is made easier if the speaking companion does not intend to hide much information about themselves from the listeners, but it is possible to politely refuse to reveal too much. A failed courtesy roll usually prevents a character from taking an active role in the encounter. Another option is riddle, so Bilbo and Gollum, for example. Or you can do an insight or riddle. Let's say you failed here, now you got to go into town. Now you're going to do some insight and riddle and other persuade rolls, things like that in the townsfolk to try to get the information and trying to worm your way into being part of the adventure and learning what you would have learned in that encounter. Does that make sense? And there's one other, which is song. Now remember, Tolkien's Legendarium says that the world was created through song, through music and song. The Song of Arda is the song of creation, that all things were made manifest from. So as somebody who's a musician and everything, I love that about Tolkien. Tolkien was never a musician, but he had a great fondness for music. And his wife was a very good piano player and everything, so... Yeah, you should read about.
I learned things.
Oh yeah.
I love it.
So, music is very powerful in Middle Earth. You'll notice there's lots of songs in The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings, which Peter Jackson did a pretty good job of showing that in the movies as far as that part.
But they didn't use the little bird song.
There's a
When
lot.
they had them in the trees.
Down,
So,
token.
song is a skill, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
A good song or tune is almost never out of place at a relaxed social encounter, but can also be a powerful diplomatic device if the singer finds the proper song or intones well-chosen words. So then we see what the tolerance rating is for the person you're talking to. So the game master, the lore master, gets a tolerance rating. And so I have various factors here for Glowin that says Glowin is a veteran of many battles. He prizes valor over wisdom, whereas elves prize wisdom over valor. So this is an important thing. So for example, as a rule of thumb, individuals who prize courage, renown, or prowess will favor valor, like warriors, soldiers, or captains, while peace-loving folks, or people not especially familiar with warfare or heroic deeds, will favor wisdom, such as common folk, merchants, elves, hobbits, and wizards. So that's an important thing to take into account. Now he, being a veteran, he favors valor over wisdom, so the basic tolerance rating for the encounter is equal to the highest valor rating among the companions.
5.
Because she has a lot of experience.
Okay.
One.
I'm not higher than that.
1,
2.
2.
Oh,
What?
you have one.
Okay, yeah, because that's what everybody starts out with, 1 or 2. That's all you can start out with when you start out. So she's a real veteran. Poppy Smallborough kicks.
She does.
Bottom.
Kick the tootie.
However, Glowin is prejudiced against elves, which reduces the basic tolerance rating for the encounter by 1 if there are elves in the company.
I'm sorry about that, guys.
Additionally, he will refuse to deal directly with an elf spokesman.
Well, I'm glad I didn't do
Right. They would have been like, nope. You would have just sat there. We were role-playing through all that, which I have done. People have chosen thinking the elf would be the best spoken, and they never got to speak to him. And he drew it out and drew it out, and they drew it out for 3 days before they finally got the hint.
Why don't you wait for us at the end?
Nope. We're not going to do that. So it's going to be assumed you didn't know this.
He's our prisoner.
Because remember, they were imprisoned by Thranduil, the Elf King, in the Hobbit. So,
That's normal.
luckily
That
for
I've read.
the group,
Wow.
Glowin is eager to see his cousin and brother recovered as soon as possible. So the tolerance rating for the encounter receives a bonus of +1 because you're here to help. Finally, if any companion is a dwarf with a standing rating, I don't know if you have a standing rating. The lore master can remember to take that into account, which is additional bonuses. I don't think you do because you're brand new. But still, automatically being a dwarf.
The third page.
Yeah, but being a dwarf, you automatically get that benefit. So, Glowin welcomes the company to the hall. As he emerges from his private quarters, he wipes ink from his fingers with barely contained impatience. His duties in Esgaroth keep him busy with a lot of paperwork. In 2946, Glowin is 163 years old. Now, generally, I wouldn't automatically do this. I would have, let's go ahead and do it. Roll a lore check. So, let's teach you guys how to roll here. So, every roll is always going to have a feat die, which is the 12-sided die. Then, you look at the number of ranks that you have, the numbers there, and that tells you how many 6-sided you're going to roll. Now, I think there's one other variable with these, and I think I'm forgetting.
The witch in favor.
Yeah, I think I'm forgetting something. I think it's for a straight check.
Can I
So
use my courtesy to help him?
there are ways to help each other. We're not going to get into that just yet. I just want you to get the very basic mechanics. So all you have is D12. So go ahead and roll just the D12. Hey, Gandalf rune.
Oh, good.
Gandalf-
I got a Sauron eye.
Gandalf rune is an automatic success. Now, it's just a regular success. There are gradients of success in this game, which I really like. That's one thing missing from AIM because it's D20.
6.
And I always get the order of these mixed up when I first start getting back into this game because I always get rusty. Between great success, extraordinary success, and outstanding. Yeah. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to actually look it up because I am rusty enough. I'm afraid I'm going to misremember. 26. Let's see if it tells me But you'll notice on each 6-sided die, you have a hollow number, a solid number, and then a number with a little Tengwar rune by it. Little kind of funky little squiggly thing, which is, for the 6. Those are important. If you're miserable and such, the hollow numbers, the 1s, 2s, and 3s, no longer count in your rolls for success when you get miserable enough. They just stop. You're less effective. The little Tengwar runes, the 6s, are gradients of great success, extraordinary success, etc. So you always want to watch for those. And they did it because for some people it just makes it faster for them to add things up. Let's see. Now, of course, like most games, this has a target number, just like a difficulty check. A very easy target number is 10. So you would roll a d12 plus the number of d6, and if you roll a 10 or higher, that's a success. An easy check is 12, a moderate is 14, a hard is 16, severe is 18, and daunting is 20. Now, for regular players, I would not spend this much time on the rules. I'm doing this for those of your game masters. I would just let them learn as we went. Degree of success, here we go. To determine the quality of success, the player counts how many special little T icons show up on your success dice. And what was the name of that? It's
Tengwar?
I keep wanting to call it Tengwar. I don't know if that's actually accurate, but all right. If none of those icons were scored at all, the action attempted was narrowly successful, but it was a success. You just got the number, and you just do the bare minimum. If you have one of those, then you have a great success that was a little bit out of the ordinary. If you have 2 or more, it was absolutely exceptional and memorable and extraordinary success. Now, this is important to how you play the game, because those higher gradients give the players more control over the narrative of how things happen. This game is very cool in that actually the players are really engaged more in the narrative than the GM compared to AIM and other games. So we'll get into that, but basically if you get a great success, I'll say, okay, not the greatest, it's not the epic thing, but I want you to describe how your character succeeded above what his expectations were somewhat. And then if you did really well, say, well, then how did Poppy do like epic success? Describe what happens. And now there's a catch. If it's out of character, and there's certain abilities your characters have that are automatic, they'll come up.
Like specialties, fire making, and tunneling.
Yeah, so certain abilities you don't even have to roll. They're automatic, but they have to be done appropriate to the situation and basically your character. If something's out of character, the players can veto, go, that's not in character. So you've got a lot of that going on here with the group dynamics. It's a little different than some other games. Pros and cons to that. Some people like that, some people don't. All right, and so the same thing with this initial encounter. There's a number of successful rolls you have to get to persuade him to be happy with you. And you don't know what that number is. And you have to keep rolling successful awe or courtesy or whatever until you've reached the threshold. And then if you've gotten a certain number of successes in that time, you can have a narrow success, which is that you had your average successful rolls 1, 2 to 4 was success, 5 to 6 was great success, 7 plus was extraordinary success. You get the idea. So everything in this game is gradients. It's not binary. That's something D&Ders aren't familiar with. That's why I'm really emphasizing that. And it is unfortunate that it's lost in AIM. All right, is that fairly clear as far as that? Okay, good. And you'll get to play through that a few times. What's that?
Oh, it just sounds very cool.
Yeah.
More of a, play your role, not roll your play kind
Yep.
of thing.
Yep.
I like that. That's
No, I really do like TOR very much. It's just, it is a whole new system, and people who already know D&D, it's easier to jump into AIM because it's familiar. So, all right. So with the lore check, so you had an automatic success, so you happen to know how old he is or whatever. What did you get?
6.
6 total?
6 total.
So even though you're a dwarf and you know he's famous, you don't know any trivia about him.
He didn't have any treasure on him.
Yeah, and you didn't have any ranks. You didn't have any ranks in lore.
No, I have 0 ranks in lore.
Okay.
Who is this glowing fellow?
Okay.
13.
13. Okay. Did you have any?
No.
Okay. So you know the basic trivia here.
I get a whole 6.
Okay. So those of you who succeeded, you know that he served with with Thorn and all of the Thorn Oakenshield and the others and such.
He was in the Battle of Five Armies.
Yes, but your character is
Doesn't know
only
that.
like vaguely aware that somehow he was part of it. Somehow you're an ignorant dwarf.
He looks
You'd never paid attention in lore class.
He was under a rock.
Well, my specialty is tunneling.
Yes. But I'm going to go ahead and share what could have been learned through more successful roles and such. 163 years old, an accomplished veteran who likes to consider that his adventuring days aren't over yet. He usually wears rich white clothes or clothes of different colors with white trimming, matching the hue of the 2 points of his forked beard. Glowin is very courteous and fair-spoken under most circumstances, but today he is urgently looking for men of action and grows quickly. This is also Lore Master, obviously, info. Looking for men of action and grows quickly impatient with individuals who try to enter his graces with cunning words. As a consequence, the player heroes will be lucky if they opt for designating a spokesperson to state their intentions clearly. So you guys made some of the right choices for this particular case. Now, oftentimes it can be the other way. They might consider you brutish and rude, and like the elves and such would not appreciate that approach. So if the company chooses a spokesperson to introduce the group, the difficulty of the action roll of awe or courtesy, is set at the standard target number of 14. So you're the spokesperson. Go ahead and roll either awe or courtesy, whichever you are better at. Same either way.
No, awe is 0, courtesy is 1.
All right, so you're going to do the courtesy thing, which he doesn't like as much, but you're going to go ahead and do that because that's what you're better at.
I'd rather do song.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Because I can sing.
Yeah, so just go ahead and roll. Just quickly roll. We want to do these things quickly because we have a lot to cover.
Nice. Oh my god, come on.
John!
7!
All right. So he failed miserably. He kicks you guys out on your rear. But let's assume he
Oh,
didn't.
for the 2 that rolled out of the box?
Yes. Yeah, but that doesn't do any good. Too bad. But we'll assume because we don't have time to go.
I don't think Glowin thinks out of the box.
So he would have failed. He would have insulted him. He's like, I don't have time because he did courtesy. He's like, I don't have time for cunning words. I'm looking for people of action. Get out of here. And you would be kicked out, and then you would need to try to find another way through role-playing through the town and such. If the players had opted for individual roles, most likely using courtesy, they face a hard difficulty number of 16. So let's say you guys were trying that. Let's say he fails. You know he fails. You're like, wait, let me talk. What would you have for courtesy?
Well, actually, I probably would have gone with awe. And after being kicked out, like, I succeeded in my lore. I know he's a veteran. I kicked back down the door.
That's a good way to get executed.
You're here to save your family whether you like it or not.
And pretty much that.
Yeah, well, he'd rather see action than word. He wouldn't need to kick down the door. You would know that if you just go ahead and do it, he'd be grateful. You wouldn't need to kick down the door. That would just be disrespectful.
Okay, in that case, that's what I do.
Yeah, you would just go ahead and go save them anyway. But you need to get the info that he's not giving you because you guys get kicked out. What would you get if you tried courtesy?
Lots of dice.
Sauron.
Okay. So Sauron Eye is automatic failure.
That's
And in certain circumstances, like where you are geographically or the people you're around, can lead to potential encounters or bad things happening. Very bad things happen. Very bad things could happen when the Sauron Eye happens at the wrong time. Now, in this case, it's not that big a deal. It's just a failure, and it's unfortunate.
So I have to do courtesy.
Just try it.
Well,
We're just doing this for the experimentation.
I had no courtesy.
You can awe him with your elviness.
I know, that's...
Either no. You can do either one. Sorry, you
Oh,
can do
okay.
whichever you prefer.
Okay.
So you're gonna try to awe the
Because
dwarf.
courtesy's 0.
Let me
That's
tell you
weird.
something,
Yeah.
Shorty.
All right.
That's 13.
Okay, so you still would have failed because you need 16. Oh, and 14
And-
even at the regular. Yeah.
And elf.
Yeah. So you probably might, be lynched or something for speaking disrespectfully to a dwarf who already doesn't like your kind.
And by the way, I would have got
Maybe
a
not
14 on my
lynched,
awe.
Okay.
I'm going to try and persuade him that we've got his best interests at heart.
Okay.
Because I
The
don't
woodsman can at least have an odd 3.
Oh.
That's the good one, right?
Yeah.
So that's
Gandalf
automatic
Plus
success.
6.
You got 1 or 2?
No, just.
Oh,
2 and
just
4.
okay. But it's automatic success.
Okay.
So not a great success, not extraordinary success, but a success. So that's good, and then he would be able to give you the info and such. So let's say you saved the day for however you did
Not
that.
only do I not know anything about dwarves, I don't know how to
As a
talk to
dwarf. I know nothing about my own kind.
True insult.
I am a halfling with a fake beard.
So during the interaction stage, Glowin briefs the company with the additional details regarding the missing dwarves, drawing on a piece of parchment a sketch of the route the messengers opted to follow. So again, you would have not gotten this if we were basing it on the rolls. We would have role-played through it, but the end result is it would have failed, and you would have to find another way to get this information.
So could I have gotten extra information if I had, one, actually role-played my introduction, and
You still roll, and then we role-play through.
so the roll goes first. I can't bolster it by being a good role player.
That is, a lot of role-playing game systems have that consequence.
Yeah.
So what it's to represent is he had a bad day, and it doesn't matter what you say, this is how he's reacting to you. That's what it's about, is the interaction. And your role-playing for the DM is still going to matter. But what's interesting about TOR is that they have actually mechanized that. They have quantified that social interaction aspect. Now, as a GM, as an LM, you can always overrule and go, you know what, you did such a great job, you overcame however grouchy he was, or being an elf and whatever. That's up to every LM, of course. So, remember what's the number one rule about the role-playing game rules?
Story above rules.
Well, first of all, they are a suggestion and a guide for the GM to decide whether or not they apply or not. And the players too, right? As a group, you decide this. But it does make for some interesting dynamics. Now, if success of your campaign and your adventure requires them to succeed at this, don't roll. Do not roll if it is required for success. So in a hurried version of this game, I wouldn't bother rolling. We would role play through it very quickly, and short of you intentionally insulting them, it would work out. Yeah, you just get some warnings or something, whatever. But all right.
My cousin Balin, son of Fundin, has left the lonely mountain with a companion. He was meant to personally deliver a letter, a formal invitation from King Dane Ironfoot to the Lord of the Eagles for the coming gathering of 5 armies, an important meeting to be held at the beginning of summer. He planned to go south along the running river to investigate the conditions of the old forest road and possibly traverse it, now that the threat of goblins has been greatly reduced.
So then you guys see that little map. It shows the route that Balin and his companion Owen were supposed to follow. Now, unless Glowin is dealing directly with an elf spokesperson, he then adds the following. So if he's dealing with an elf spokesperson, he would not add the following.
I don't know what happened, but unfortunately the possibilities are many in these days of doubt. If the perils of Wilderland were not enough, there are always the suspicious dwellers of the woodland realm to consider, eyeballing the elf. They are
don't like them.
They are sworn enemies of the shadow, but unfortunately they don't love dwarves and watch their land jealously. I hope my concerns are ill-placed, but I wouldn't be surprised if Balin had found himself again a guest of the Elven Clean King's celebrated hospitality.
Yeah, probably.
Well, that's why they didn't take the elf path and they went all the way down to the old forest road.
The players can, there's a reason. The players can make other rolls on request. So insight or riddle are appropriate skills and yield the following. Insight. A successful roll reveals that Glowin is trying to hide his profound concern. A great or extraordinary success uncovers that the dwarf is worried because it was his older brother Owen that chose to accompany Balin on this errand. Riddle. A successful roll lets a listener gather from half-spoken hints that Glowin first suspected that something was wrong because he experienced an episode of foresight. A great or extraordinary success of riddle that's like asking questions around town or the folk there or himself, reveals that the foresight concerned a sinister fate that might have befallen Owen. So, and then there's more about that, but we'll skip over that. Glóin obviously will be give a princely reward for this. If people try to demand an amount, he will be insulted. He's not looking for mercenaries and might kick you out for that, despite your role. So if you get a bunch of mercenary players, well, how much? You'll be well rewarded. Well, how much does that mean? Goodbye. I don't need mercenaries here. I need people who are heroes. So, but in the facts here, if the 2 missing dwarves are brought back alive to Lake Town, every surviving adventurer will be awarded with silver and gold amounting to 5 points of treasure. See, I hate that that's points, but that's a lot of points of treasure. That's a lot of treasure.
You say that, but how much?
Exactly.
But I spend these treasure
But
points
more
on?
importantly, I get to meet the king.
Well, opportunities, that would help. You would role play through that. This won't happen in this adventure. It could be as a consequence. He would be grateful to you, and you could say, "By the way, could I?" So it could set up the opportunity.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if the company went to seek Glóin to offer their help, he soon evaluates their proposition and makes his decision based on what the players said and their characters did during the encounter. If the heroes won Glóin's trust, they are officially tasked with the rescue of the 2 missing dwarves and receive a map of the lands to the south of Esgaroth. As the journey by the river is the only safe alternative to cross the long marshes, Glóin also provides the adventurers with papers permitting them to borrow boats from the lakemen. See, otherwise you guys have to go buy boats or do it by land, which is really treacherous. It takes twice as long by land. So that's, again, lots of gradients of success and failure here.
So we could stick a cruise.
I would borrow.
These are little carracks. They're not big boats.
Sure, it's a big boat to me.
They have to be carryable. Yes, that's true. If the heroes gathered information about the missing dwarves without consulting Glóin, the lore master will have to adjust the adventure somewhat. If the players met the dwarf but failed in the encounter, or if they played their characters inconsistently during the investigation, or made their own lives difficult in some way, the lore master should arrange events to make sure that the players feel that even their bad or unfortunate choices have consequences. And so they talk about how they get in trouble and get thrown in jail and everything.
Wow. Again!
So, which I love that this has all of that in mind. Your tip for new lore masters. Your players might make a mess of the meeting with Glóin, or even bypass him completely. If this happens, you can either continue your game in the direction that the players are taking it, or provide more of an incentive for them to join in the search, possibly finding a link to the backstory of one or more characters. Perhaps Balin is rumored to know the whereabouts of a treasured family heirloom belonging to one of the characters, or perhaps he possesses information that the company needs. Consider what would give any or all of the characters a personal stake in finding the missing dwarves. While the renown to be gained from the performance of good deeds should be reward enough for heroes of Middle-earth, sometimes players need a little extra nudge. So that's part 1, going through all that process. The part 2 is a long and weary way. So considering the information the company has likely gathered so far and the nature of the mission, the adventurers should sooner or later embark on a journey south to find the missing dwarves. The lore master may present this part of the adventure using the standard rules for journeys. The part opens with a preliminary stage of planning, followed by the standard journey resolution phase. So that's an aim as well, right? You've got planning and journey. So the journey south, the companions decide to follow Glóin's intended route. They will enter the long marshes, trying to reach the point where the Old Forest Road exits Mirkwood and encounters the running river. And has everybody looked at the map, taking turns looking at it? You should all get familiar with it. It's a long and treacherous trek to cover on foot, as it goes across swamps and bogs for approximately 80 miles. 80 miles of swamps and bog. Have any of you ever tried to traverse a swamp or a bog?
A
Yeah.
boat helps.
Been there. Been
No, I
there.
haven't do it on foot.
Hated it.
Hated it.
Fort Polk, Louisiana. It's standard practice. Go bogging.
Florida.
So going the distance on a boat should be much safer as the river waters run hurriedly south. So based on the journey rules, the traveling distance on foot to Esgaroth to where the Old Forest Road leaves the eastern borders of Mirkwood requires 8 days of march and 2 fatigue tests from each player. So this is another interesting mechanic, which is a name, right? This fatigue test is a name, yes. All of this, I believe, is a name.
6 levels of fatigue, you're dead.
Yeah. Well, that's a little bit different. That's D&D
Exhaustion.
degrees. That's
But they still, when you're doing your journey, you can pick levels of
it's a little bit different as far as the specifics of that, because it has to do more with your hope to shadow points ratio and stuff. So it's a little more nuanced. If the company will be traveling on boats downriver, it will take them 4 days and require 1 fatigue test from each player. So half the burden. If you want to make if the lore master wants to make the players' lives, it should be the characters' lives, a little bit harder, they may account for the fact that the area is a Shadowland and require that the difficulty for all rolls be set to target number 16 hard for the fatigue test.
Well, what? You would do for a fatigue test.
We'll get to that.
Okay.
So planning the route, armed with this information, the players might want to reduce their risk by studying their chosen route as stated. On page 151, all players may attempt a lore roll to study the route and gain bonus success dice based on their knowledge of the area. As a consequence of their planning, the journey might make far safer or less tiresome progress. And we're not going to do the whole thing. I'm trying to introduce you guys to these concepts and then get to the meat of the adventure as quickly as I can here. So, find boats. You guys go ahead and get boats. The boats that are available in Lake Town are wooden, round-bottom skiffs allowing 2, 4, or 8 rear-facing oarsperson led by a coxswain coordinating their efforts and steering the boat with a side rudder. Typically, Lake Town skiffs sport bird-headed prows, with swans being the traditional choice. However, in recent years, dragon-prowed skiffs have become popular with the more daring young lakemen. So, what do you guys want for a boat? Because you've got this piece of paper that lets you pick your little boat. Do you want separate boats? Do you want one large boat? How do you want to do it?
One large boat.
A large boat with the dragons.
You prefer the dragon, the newer dragon type?
Yeah, that's fancy.
Okay, so there are 5 of you, so you want one that handles 4 rowers and 1 coxswain. Okay. So that's what you got. Is you got a boat that seats 5, 4 rowers.
Actually,
What?
consider we're planning on picking up 2. How about we get a boat that can, or 2 boats that, so we can bring 7 people.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah, and we have slips to do that.
We're going to be going down to the bottom by boat, and then we're walking across. So we have to leave our boats with somebody.
And are we? Would it be faster to take a boat up the river or walk?
Up the river's the wrong way.
Exactly. So when we come back, do we even want to?
Well,
take
we're going to get the
boat
Eagles
back?
Airy, right?
Okay, everybody roll a lore check.
Okay. On the table, please. Oh man, that's pretty good.
Gandalf.
11.
No.
I got a Gandalf.
Saruman.
Oh man, I keep knocking.
So you're giving really bad advice.
I am. No, I'm not.
2.
Okay.
Oh, I don't feel so bad now.
7, but he got a great success.
I got a Gandalf with a 6.
Excellent. Okay.
With a
Well, and because it passes by Mirkwood, you're going to have more knowledge about the area too.
Okay,
So, what'd you get?
3.
Okay. So you, Mr. Elf, know that by boat's definitely the best option. You also know there's major waterfalls that the boats have to be carried down and will be carried up, but there's people that will do that. There's actually porters who will do that up and down the waterfall face there, the cliff face. And that when you get to where you need to go on that trail, the boats can be left there. They'll be fine there. They won't be a problem. And going back, because it's a marsh, going upstream is not much harder than going downstream. It's better to have a boat than to walk those marshes. Those marshes are horrific to walk. And now you as an elf know some back ways and such and through the trees, but you don't think the rest of these could keep up. So having a boat is better. The only problem with 2 boats is,
It's heavier.
well, there's only 5 people. So if you have 2 rowers and 1 guide to run the rudder, who's the third person for the second
Who's going
boat?
to guide the third boat? I mean, unless
So,
you're dragging the boat.
alternatively, you might want to go with the larger,
Yeah, that's what I was.
yeah, the larger boat, and you'll be able to dock it, and
We'll
you
take the biggest boat we can carry.
right. Well, you don't have to carry it, fortunately, other than just to bring it up to shore, because
So-
there'll be
Yeah,
people
the
to do that.
8-person
Will
boat.
this boat wait for us? Or do we have to hire a different boat back?
It will wait for you. There's nobody else in the boat. You guys are given the boat to use,
Okay.
and then you can bring the same boat back.
Okay.
It'll be wherever you leave it, in theory,
I'm flying back on Eagles. I don't know about you.
because you don't know where along all that route that they've ended up. So here's a little picture of some of the
there's
boats
our dragon
past
boat.
that
Yeah,
round.
there's our
It's got a
dragon.
sail.
Yeah.
No. We got the small ones.
So what you're saying is the boat
We
goes
got
down?
the big one.
We got the big one with
So-
the sails.
Who has boating?
I'm a dwarf. I'm lucky I can know how to bathe.
Anybody have boating?
Where's boating?
You can get by with athletics, but if you have boating, you'll do a lot better.
Where is
Be your specialty or distinctive feature.
It's a trait.
I do not have one of those. Do I have
Boating
one?
is a trait, which means automatic success.
I can tell great stories.
Otherwise,
about
it's
boating.
through athletics with no skill. Basically, you'll muscle your way through.
I've got athletics.
I've got athletics.
I've got
Well, everybody has
Partner with
athletics,
her.
To some degree.
some people do.
But it's a trait. So it's on the front character sheet under.
The
well,
woodsman has leechcraft.
So, because here's traits.
No, got no.
Yeah, nobody's got boating on
Okay, so no boaters. So the good thing is this isn't going to rely too heavily on that. But if you had to do some whitewater or something, you guys would be in a lot of trouble.
I'll be fine.
I'm a dwarf. I just sink to the bottom and walk.
So now that the planning stage is over, the players decide how the company travels south, and the lore master then narrates what they see and experience along the way. When the lore master considers appropriate, they ask the players to resolve the fatigue tests required by the journey rules and records their outcome, to later apply any penalties or any hazard sequence triggered by rolling the Sauron Eye. So this is where rolling the Sauron Eye can create more encounters.
You did roll 2 in your first 2.
If the gameplay follows the adventure as is presented here, the lore master should probably apply the effects of failed fatigue rolls right before the third part of the adventure starts, which we'll get to. So page 161 describes several potentially dangerous episodes to be used if one or more hazard sequences have been triggered. The lore master gets to pick one they consider to be most appropriate to the character's current situation. We're going to skip adding extra encounters. There's enough danger in this as it is. Again, I'm trying to introduce you to these mechanics. But that gives you an idea of everybody would go. Let's see what would happen, though. 161, we'll run a fatigue check as you're traveling. Okay, making fatigue tests. Traveling companions face all sorts of difficulties and must account for the additional weight and inconvenience of things like sleeping cots or blankets, food rations, and such. Fatigue tests are required to check whether the gear carried by each hero has proven too burdensome or if they ended up encountering unexpected complications. Players resolve their travel rolls at the same time. In the case of a journey requiring multiple tests, lore master should intersperse the required rolls and their consequences across the length of their narrative. When a player here fails a fatigue test, they immediately increase their fatigue score by a number equal to the encumbrance value of your traveling gear. So where's your encumbrance? Additionally, if at least one player attempting a fatigue test produce a Sauron icon, whether their roll failed or not, a hazard episode occurs. The encumbrance rating of a character's traveling gear depends on the season during which they're traveling. It's equal to 3 points during cold months of year or 2 points during spring and summer. So you guys are in spring.
Where's the encumbrance? It's by the gear.
It's at the end of each gear line.
So journeys can be arduous, and there's a chance that the adventurers will become wearied before they get to their destination. You can actually be worn out before you ever even get there. Toilsome complications like crossing a freezing stream in winter, cutting a new path across the undergrowth in the suffocating heat of summer, or avoiding getting lost in a thick autumn fog are represented in the game by a number of fatigue tests imposed on the companions. The number of fatigue tests is based on the duration of the journey as calculated above. There's a chart, and the weather conditions of the season, and more charts. Each companion has to make a fatigue test roll travel for each full or partial number of days shown in the table that the characters travel for. So remember, since you guys, if you went by land, you have to do 2 fatigue tests. By boat, it's 1. So this is a travel test. So look at your travel, and that's what you roll.
Oh. Let's put all of my 6-sided dice back. This is fine.
I have redoubtable. I subtract favorite heart to final fatigue rating.
And he needs help
Nice.
finding it, John.
Where's the travel?
Yes.
Ah, there it is.
You have 1 plus 2.
Okay, 15.
Poppy might be a tank, but she's having a bad day.
John?
7.
Ooh, ouch.
14.
Okay. 14, for this, I'm not making it extra hard at a 16. It's just a 14 as standard. So, success. Just
7.
didn't make it, but not. Okay.
5.
5.
19 plus my 6 has got the little doohickey by it.
Okay, so you've got a great success.
Not 19.
Excellent. So,
17.
So it's still a success.
Come on, guys. Follow me.
okay, so the target number of each fatigue test is usually 14 if the lore master prefers to reflect the characteristics of the traverse region if in the difficulty of the rule.
So sorry, guys.
Oh, hi.
Ooh, this is an extra
They can
hour
use the
and a
region
half
table
of work.
below. Okay, we just jump in with the character there.
Okay.
You'll need to get her a chair there at the corner there.
It's not a lot.
There's some chairs out by the front foyer if you need to grab one, or maybe behind. Yeah, it might be the foyer. Actually, probably Shane, you should probably let her use that chair, and or Riley, let her use that chair, and you go grab the one from the foyer.
Or we can use this guy
No.
if it's not me.
Okay.
If I trade
So
it for
Riley
you.
can use that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. The lore master prefers to reflect the character. Okay, you can make it more difficult if you want. And all the maps for this have different color codes and region and hazard codes for the lore master to determine if they're more difficult. Just so you know.
What does this mean?
That's our map.
My cultural blessing is
So- Test failed. Raise your fatigue by 3 in the autumn and winter, or 2 in the summer and spring. So whoever failed your roll on your travel. So Danielle, roll a d12 and then whatever your travel is. It would be the number of 6s that you rolled added.
Oh.
Each rank is another d6.
Okay,
So
so I
1d6.
rolled 7.
So you failed. So
Right.
you
You
add
got
2 to your fatigue.
This is an automatic success.
Oh, I got automatic success.
Okay, good.
Well,
But nobody rolled a Sauron eye, so no hazard added to the adventure. So that's
So
how that.
what's the encumbrance? What is that?
That's how much you can carry. Otherwise, you start to become wearied and start running at penalties. So remember when I said if you get wearied, you don't count the 1s, 2s, and 3s. If you get too encumbered and weary, your 1s, 2s, and 3s will no longer count on your rolls.
So
And by the way, there's a quick trick to that. If you're in combat or something, you can drop like your shield or a helmet, and that can lighten your encumbrance enough to change that ratio that you'll get rid of the penalty. So just keep that in mind. If you're in combat and you're fatigued, you're wearied, and you're having a penalty, and you want to get rid of that penalty, you can drop a shield or a helmet or something and lighten that load. All right, and again, I would not do this to normal players. This is for the sake of those who are interested in what is going on in the mechanics here. Okay. Did you have something?
yes, I have a question. So, do you gain any fatigue if you were successful?
Nope.
Okay. If I had gained fatigue, it says here that I'm supposed to subtract favorite heart to final fatigue rating.
Good. So what's your...
Heart 6 favored.
Okay, so your total fatigue rating would be subtract 6 from your total there. But I think that's the cumulative. I'd have to look that up exactly, but
Okay.
yeah, you are much more resistant to being fatigued. Your legs were meant for long distances, or whatever.
Yeah.
Not meant for. Okay.
More appropriate for the sprint.
Yes,
It says.
which is the opposite of what dwarves are, but okay. So, from Esgaroth to the Stair of Girion. It takes days to cover the 15 miles that separate Lake Town from the southern end of the lake. It takes a day to cover the 15 miles. Close to where its water pours out. So as you guys are traveling south on the lake, you slowly hear in the distance south of you, you kind of feel it first, a deep visceral rumbling sensation. And as you're continuing south, you then start to hear a roar to the south that's getting slowly louder and louder as you traverse the miles. All of you are fully aware that this is where Anduin, so think of a river the size of the Mississippi, and then it suddenly drops hundreds of feet as a waterfall. And the force, like Niagara Falls, that kind of visceral feeling and sound is what you're slowly approaching.
I can't swim, aren't you?
So it takes a day to cover the 15 miles that separate Lake Town from the southern end of the lake, close to where its waters pour out over high waterfalls. Their loud roar can be heard slowly increasing in volume as the adventurers get nearer to the falls. Travelers going south usually disembark on the western shore of the lake, where several wooden piers jet out from the shingles. There, a number of huts huddle close to the lake, and fires can be seen twinkling in the dark at night. These are the homes of the lakemen that sometimes serve as porters for the Stair of Girion. The Stair of Girion is a paved portage trackway, built long ago by the Laketown men with the help of dwarven masons, allowing for the swift transport of boats and their contents from the lake down to where the river running resumes its course beyond the falls or up to the lake from the river for boats coming from the south. Entire boats can be loaded on wheeled carts that are then pulled along grooves dug into the paved trackway.
You're welcome.
The Stair of Girion hasn't seen a lot of traffic in the past few centuries. Not even the death of Smaug has provided the chance to put it to much use, as only well-armed and courageous merchants, a rare breed, dare to approach the lake directly by boat. Fearing to enter the darkest parts of the long marshes, they prefer to unload their wares 90 miles south of the lake, where the river running enters Mirkwood and the marshes, and then continue their journey overland along the eastern borders of Mirkwood, as you saw on that map. So you guys are arriving the first day. You loaded your boat on the trackway with their help. They all help you get out and lift up your boats. Think like big Viking boats, basically. And onto the trackway that proceeds south the next morning. By the time you get here, it's kind of towards evening, and it's recommended, you don't have to, but it's recommended to camp out here at the top of the falls with the lakemen here for the night. And they have fires going and do offer to let you camp here if you wish. They're not going to let you stay in their cabins, but you can camp here if you'd like. What do you guys want to do?
I suggest we stay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody day saying?
I guess I'll have to stay here, but this is rough doings.
Spoken like a young new hobbit.
He's used to prosperous.
Does Poppy have
surroundings,
anything to say to this young new fop? You remember when you were like that long ago?
Nope.
Nope.
Poppy was never prosperous.
I'm rich. I don't know what your problem is.
Sure hope they have mushrooms for dinner.
So they ask you to take seats around a fire with the lakemen. And the porters are young and simple men. They're very excited seeing you guys, clearly adventurers, daring to go south on a boat. You're going south? You're clearly adventurers. Where are you going? What are you going to do? What have you done? Tell us some stories.
We're gonna save us some dwarfs, and then we're gonna go meet the king.
The king? Which king?
The one on the
All of
mountain.
Right. You got any songs?
I do.
Oh, let's hear it. Especially something of old stories of tale of valor.
Okay, so... Sorry, can't count. 10.
Straight 10?
Yeah.
Okay. Your voice was kind of a little out of tune. It's not horrific, but not great. Not one of your better performances. And they're like, oh, right.
Anyone else?
I'll try.
Okay.
Oh,
You don't
well,
appreciate
should not
dwarven
have tried.
opera.
Like Klingon opera.
Yeah.
All right. Well, so any stories you want to talk about?
He
A
tried.
few years ago, I was coming through and we were beset by a troll.
Oh, tell us about that.
I was with a dwarf.
Hmm.
He was a stonemason.
Mm-hmm.
The dwarf got caught in the sun.
The
stone-
dwarf did.
Or, excuse me, the troll got caught in the sun. The dwarf, stonemason,
Cat in the
turned him
sunbeam.
into a fireplace.
What? Turn the troll into a fireplace?
Never would have credited it.
Oh my goodness, that's
It was
hilarious.
amazing work, and it was a beautiful, beautiful
Oh,
fireplace.
right. Now, if any of you managed to get a great or extraordinary success on your success check there, you could have put a little chip mark by the success, because as you add those up, you gain advancement points, and that's how you increase your skills over time. Yes.
So what happens if I got an eye of store on the nice one?
They start throwing rotten tomatoes at you.
Why would you throw tomatoes on
He
me?
started throwing you at one.
Yeah, that would mean your voice was cracking horrifically, and it was one of your worst
You just
performances.
reached elven
Humiliated.
puberty.
Humiliations galore.
Young age of 70.
So, but because you guys are sharing, okay, hold on to that.
Okay.
Hold on to that roll. Because you're well, actually, go ahead, give it a shot.
Hot songs are the best songs.
17.
That's a good. Any
What'd you roll?
okay?
That's not what you rolled. You rolled
15.
15.
God, math and stuff.
It's okay. All you needed was a 14. So
Okay, well, I still made it.
yeah. So at one point, an ancient-looking individual comes up, and they introduce him. Oh, there's Nerulf. He comes up. He looks decrepit. He's like, "Hey, yes, you want to see him? Oh, yeah, come on, oh, yeah. I know what you're saying over there." You can barely understand a word he's saying.
He's Welsh.
So you're heading south. You say you're going south. Well, I don't know if that's a really good idea, but then sometimes you don't do that. Yeah, well, yeah. Well,
I'm not speaking the language of curmudgeon in here.
Yes, south. Yes, that's what we're
wait, right then. If you go south of the marshes, take heed, tread lightly, and fear the gallows weed. If you go south of the marshes, take heed, tread lightly, and fear the gallows weed. If you go south in the marshes, take heed, tread lightly, and fear the gallows weed.
So, gallows weed. Right, got it.
Tell
Don't
us
smoke
about
the
the
gallows
gallows
weed.
weed.
Poisonous.
That's not the pilot, and you can't die while you're neck, and drag you up on driving, and then you're going to get stronger.
Okay, then I'll be wary.
It's a vine that strangles people.
Ooh.
I'm making an
Okay,
assumption.
all right. So, so you guys spend the night, and all is fine. Nothing eventful in the morning. You know, it's kind of wet and damp, but you get going. They help you take the boat down and get it back into the water, and you continue on. So, beyond the Stair of Girion, the the company will be rowing south into the long marshes, an area considered to this day to be mostly unexplored and dangerous.
Make maps.
It's shunned even by the most curious of lakemen and raft elves. The terrain along the river Vale is flat and fenny, and a dense fog often rises in the morning, so you guys are kind of going down into the fog here in the morning, making it almost impossible to follow a path on land. Boating on the river makes for a steady progress, even if the stream becomes tortuous and sometimes wanders among 100 winding courses. The river waters are faster in spring than in other periods of the year, as the ice melts in the distant mountains. So fortunately it's spring, and so that's helping you.
We're on the last track.
So you guys are traversing that, and let me pull up my map here. Nope, there it is. All right. So you're going to traverse that, and you'll notice partway through you enter, like you're kind of skirting the edge of Mirkwood, and then you see it goes fully into Mirkwood. Do you see that on your map?
Oh, yes.
See where the trees kind of come out as a bulge there?
at that point, that'll be see how many days. So that's 25 miles south of the lake. So that'll probably take you a day and a half or so, unless you want to row hard. If you just want to go lazily with the river, it'll probably take a day and a half to get down there. If you want to row hard, you could probably get there in a day to the edge of the.
Or if you have
that
two
entry
elves
of
and
Mirkwood.
an elf and two halflings rowing, it's not going to row hard.
Challenge.
So what do you guys want to do? Do you want to just go lazily along or
row
kind of
hard.
push it?
I'll roll hard.
Roll
Want
hard.
to row hard? All right.
They're rising to the challenge.
Roll hard.
All right. So everybody
Thought we
roll
could
your
enjoy the
athletics check.
destination, the trip, but that's...
And this includes that. Now, tell me who's rowing and who's guiding. Now that you've got 6.
What is the skill for guiding? Travel?
Explore.
No. I'm not asking for that yet. I just want to know who's doing what yet.
Well, it helps us decide who does what.
Well, then now you're trying to meta it.
I'm trying to figure out who's better at
Yeah.
guiding.
Poppy row.
I'm rowing.
Probably
Generally, somebody with a high awareness, explore, or search would be what you'd want for those.
Oh, well, maybe I should be the guy.
Now remember, we didn't do it. We probably should have. I forgot to do it because actually this skips assigning your roles.
Right, that would have made the difference.
Lookout versus scouts. The intro doesn't bother with that because again they're trying to keep the rules basic.
Well, I think I'd be a good
Let's see
lookout.
where. I guess I just assumed.
Okay, I'm gonna.
So let's go ahead and do that though because that was a mistake. We want to hurry and assign your roles
Yeah.
because that's a key thing to this system. Now it's in AIM as well, but it didn't spell it out in the adventure as it's again supposed to be introductory. They need a much better introductory adventure for the first time.
Right.
That's for sure.
Because it's too easy to fail in the beginning.
Oh man, there's so many. Let's see here.
Hunt stuff.
3.
Okay.
Okay, rolls of traveling
That beats
campaign
mine.
154.
I'm
There's only
making
4
things.
rolls, so
I'll find
you
it.
can double up.
You get it.
I'm good at travel, but my explorer is only
right.
2.
All right, there's guide, scout, huntsman, and lookout person.
Oh, there's one.
So the guide is in charge of all decisions concerning route, rest, and supplies. The scout, and you can have multiples if you want, but the scout is in charge of setting up camp, opening new trails. Huntsman is in charge of finding food in the wild, and the lookout person is in charge of keeping watch. No companion may assume more than one role, but there may be more characters for any role except the guide. There can only be one of the guide. The others can be multiples. So a guide, the main asset is a superior travel skill. A scout is explore skill. Huntsman is hunting skill. And a lookout is awareness.
The only thing I'm really suited for is the guide.
I can get lookout.
You guys figure this out yourselves.
Okay.
I'm a hunter.
Then I should be.
You can be multiple on the same role except for
Yeah.
guide.
Explore.
Which one had explore? That was the guide?
No, that was
The scout.
Scout?
Okay, so we've
I think the
got
scout would be good.
Belly as the guide. We've got
Yeah, better.
the bride as the scout. Trotter as our lookout. Riley, what are you doing?
I'm the lookout.
We can both look out.
We're both.
That way we can split the watch and get some
Who's your huntsman?
I'm the huntsman.
So am I.
So Baron.
Okay, so character names. So Belly's the guide.
Belly's the guide.
Who are the scouts?
Just me.
Just
Character
the
names,
bride.
please.
Bride.
Bride and that's it.
That's
Okay.
it.
Hunters.
Poppy and
Baron.
Baron.
And lookouts.
Trotter and
Granthir.
a lot of syllables.
What is it?
Karen there.
Karen there? Okay.
Being
the
a
last one?
troublemaker.
My fellowship focus.
Oh, okay. For a second, I thought you had
So,
tried to do it.
so very important whether AIM or TOR that you keep track of this with your group because they're running checks that way during travel and everything. Yes.
I made a thing, and it had the character tent, and I put that on it.
Oh,
for
good.
Aim, or
Good,
for
good, good.
Aim.
Excellent. Yeah, hey.
Yeah,
Yes,
aim. Okay.
Mention the order.
There's too many.
This is Tor,
They-
which you have played as AIM.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay.
Sorry, I'm a little worn out. I've tried really hard
Sure.
to get here as best
Appreciate
as I
it.
could, but I
All
found
right.
out I had been locked in.
So, you guys are going to do the extra effort, so roll your athletics. Everybody's rowing. Who's not rowing?
Should it be the guide?
And the scout?
Pick one. It doesn't matter really,
Oh, the
but the
guy.
guy. Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody else rolls your athletics.
Oh wait, I already did, and then
Actually, no, the guide rolls too because if you get the boat stuck, you have to help as well.
So athletics.
So go ahead and roll your athletics as well. Yeah, guide.
Alright.
You got.
Ooh, best roll all day.
Yeah, so what'd you get?
Yeah, sorry.
10.
You got.
Okay.
13.
Okay.
Wait, no, hold on.
27.
Whew.
13.
Any greats or extraordinaries?
Great.
Okay.
Automatic success.
Okay.
automatic.
Did you steal
Okay.
a motorboat?
I got
I'm
11.
very athletic.
So if you failed, add a point of add one level of fatigue. Yep.
And the
So it's 2 points of encumbrance.
What was that target?
okay.
Generally, 14's the average number unless it's super easy.
Yeah, I
And
got a
that's
13
10
and
or-
I won.
12.
Okay, so I
So the
failed.
easiest it can be is 10. 12 is not quite as easy. 14 is the average, and then it gets tougher from there. So yeah, so if you got below a 14, you have added some, because what happened was
Okay.
the boat got stuck enough that some of you had to jump out, or you were rowing, you strained yourself rowing, and the combination of the day, those of you that failed your athletics check, you kind
Sorry,
of wore
here.
yourself out for the day.
You rode too hard and
So you had 2 more points of encumbrance.
ship silence.
No,
Or
fatigue.
fatigue, sorry.
That's right here in
Sorry.
the circle, right?
Yeah.
Just got
Sorry.
I don't know.
But
You can just put pluses by it because they'll come and go if you want.
Okay.
thank goodness I'm a dwarf and that doesn't bother me at all.
I would go that far.
Hey, not until
All
I
right.
get a 6 in fatigue does I care.
Yeah. Okay. So by evening, you guys get to the shadowy canopy of the woods, and as you come into them, the silence is deafening. The sounds of nature, from the buzzing of insects to the chirping of birds, is stopped completely. Utter, uneasy silence. Just the slight sloshing of the oozy water against your boat as you row, and your paddles as you row. Your oars as you row. So, GMs, LMs, the part of the Long Marshes that is inside Mirkwood qualifies as a blighted place. As the region is a shadowland, all companions must pass a corruption test every day or gain a shadow point. The lore master should emphasize the oppressive, depressive nature of the place that makes them question why they set out on their mission. So, take that into account.
Moisha
It's
would
dark.
have a terrible time.
Moisha would be done. But all of you are just like, oh, this is grim. And you just feel a weight on you. So let's go ahead and we'll roll it for the morning as far as the effect during the night. But you guys are going to need to find somewhere to camp.
In the boat.
Unless you're going to roll
Isn't
in the
that the
night.
scout's job?
So,
Yeah, it is. Okay. So I'm looking for. Should I explore? Find this place.
yeah, let me... Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. Ooh, 14.
What'd you get?
14.
That's just enough. Did you cheat? Is that what the laughter's about?
It's
Okay.
exactly 14.
You're just laughing nervously because you just made it.
Yeah, well, I was looking at 2 2s.
Okay.
And the 5s were upside down, so
All
I
right,
thought they were
but you made it.
supposed to do.
So you do find a place where you find in the middle of the swamp a little sandy bar of a hill that at least gets you out of the swamp and doesn't seem as noisome as some other parts. There seems to be less movement, scurrying here and there on it. There are a few slithery tracks that makes you a little nervous in and out of the water, but it at least is dry land, and it's only about 30 feet across, but it's enough for you to pull your boat up on and to make a camp. There is a lot of driftwood floating around if you want to try to make a fire. Some of it's damp, some of it's dry. It's up to you. Remember, heavy oppressive canopy. It is dark. What are you guys doing for a light source?
I like with the fire.
And I automatically succeed.
Yep, you got fire building. So puts together. How big a fire do you put together?
Big
With a
enough
lot
to
of
keep
wood.
a swarm and to keep the sparrow-sized mosquitoes off of us.
Do I know anything about what's in here?
Monsters.
It's very dangerous.
Okay, because I have Mirkwood lore.
Okay, then roll a lore check. Or is it? It's a trait.
It's a specialty.
Okay, so it's something you know automatically. Yes, you know there's a lot of dangers in here.
Spiders.
Are any of them attracted to, I don't know, fire?
Generally, fire may attract their interest but keep them away.
Okay.
So fire is probably the best way to go. Spiders definitely don't like fire. They really don't like fire.
It's a small bonfire. Just enough to cook a on. I mean,
Ring of fire.
Can we
Ring
build
of
a fire
fire.
big enough to burn down Mirkwood?
no, we cannot.
It's too moist.
Is that a challenge?
It's way too moist. So here's what. Well, no, that's later. All right. Let's try to see if I can put it moist title. Yeah. All right. So. How am I doing? Okay. So you guys go ahead and make camp for the night. You go ahead and eat whatever rations you have. So go ahead and subtract a day's worth of rations. If you didn't have rations, give yourself a 7
Hunter,
days
why
worth
weren't you
of
fishing?
give yourself 7 days of rations.
Oh.
Or if you want to hunt to save rations, that would be a good way to go.
I will hunt.
All right, both hunters, roll your hunting check.
What we subtract.
I bless you with my song of hunting.
Shush!
It's an ice feather.
Shh, scared of the fish.
16.
That's a 9.
Wow.
Oh, so
17.
8, 17, 18, 19.
He got a legendary something.
Wow. 3 sixes. He got a 1 on his feet die. He got 3 sixes.
He
So,
got a legendary.
super extraordinary success. Not really a thing, but extraordinary
Hunting.
success.
Oh, wow.
So, you describe what you caught, whether it's fishing, hunting, whatever.
Okay.
Because this is, this will be a story
Epic.
you'll be telling your grandchildren.
Gator.
Deep sea salmon.
Just a classic river whale.
What did you get?
19.
Okay, so you have a success as well. Any... Okay. What were you trying to get?
Heffalumps and woozles.
I was looking for gators.
Gator? So you're reeling in a gator. Oh, that's not going to freak people out. I don't know if there's gators here.
Gators good eating, man.
I don't know if there's gators here. I don't think we're far enough south for gators here. So think of something else.
Too, I think.
I don't remember Tolkien describing any gators in this area.
They're banded
Maybe
dragons.
down
Then I
near
will have gone
Peligir.
for a hart,
A heart?
which is a type of deer.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Sure. That works.
So
Small
I was.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was looking for a good fishing spot and picking up trying to pick up some driftwood for the fire, and I saw a big piece of driftwood in the water. I figured, I'll get it with my axe. Happened to be a gator. I dragged it out. Got it.
There are no gators here. We just established there's no gators.
Okay,
here.
so it was a crocodile.
No crocodiles.
New species.
What is this, snake?
I'm not sure what it was.
You can do snakes. There are snakes here.
Okay, it was a 12-foot long.
There's no
snake.
crocs or gators.
So, what type of large,
Sea creature.
what type of large
Swamp
game
creature.
is there here?
There are very large snakes.
Ooh, it's
There
a
are
python.
carp,
It's a dragon.
It's a python.
huge carp. There's the kind of carp that'll eat hobbits.
That's what we're having for dinner tonight.
What else? There are other things that you don't want to run into yet.
Okay, so I went to reach to grab the driftwood out of the water, and a carp came up to try and bite me, and as a reaction, sunk my axe right into its head, and just dragged it out of the water.
And just kept, here's dinner, folks.
Got dinner.
big old 6 foot long carp. Haven't you seen them down at Hoover Dam?
Yeah.
They're shark size. They're huge.
I was actually thinking the carp's about the size of a. Have you ever seen anyone seen river monsters?
Yes.
They're the ones that eat
14
corpses.
feet and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, one of those.
Okay, all right. So he drags a 12-foot carp up out of just this hideous-looking blackish-brown bottom-feeding creature. Drags it on up. And it's not even a catfish. It's just a bottom-feeding carp.
Not to play the stereotypes, but I'm assuming the hobbits are cooking.
I caught
I
it
don't know if Poppy does
and
cooking.
killed it.
Poppy
You
doesn't
cook
Yeah.
it.
Poppy does the killing, not the cooking.
Yeah.
So Poppy brings a nice little heart,
Well, how do we cook it?
Heart.
and then he's sorry, what?
Heart. H-A-R-T.
Heart, sorry.
Heart.
Carp and
Heart.
heart.
And yeah, and he brings this big slimy 12-foot long carp.
Smoke the heart. Eat
Surf
the
and
heart.
turf.
Did you bring any potatoes?
All right, you guys cook it up.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, slice it up, cook it up. Yeah. So
Try
the carp is not going to keep.
Unless we eat
The
it.
heart
We'll-
could
we'll
keep
smoke
for a
the-
day.
As
Yeah.
much as
We'll
deer
eat the
as we
carp.
can.
We'll cook the.
Yeah.
Smoke
Yeah.
the heart.
All right, so you guys
jerky.
eat well. The carp is kind of, but it's nutritious, right? It's food.
Considering my disposition, it's fine.
Yeah, no, you're proud. You're like,
No,
yeah,
I
this is.
will have stayed away from the carp.
Yeah, you
It-
got
it is
you got one
hearty.
heck of a big fish story with everybody to see as witnesses
Are you kidding me?
if they live.
I'm keeping the skull. like,
With the axe mark in it.
All right.
it's like it's not that it was this big. Just the head was this big, and here's the head.
Okay.
You sure you don't just want to keep a vertebrae?
So you guys go through the night. Now again, I could totally have all sorts of encounters and stuff during the night easily. We're going to accelerate through. Night goes through uneventfully. It's the next morning. Now all of you are going to go ahead and roll your
Misery.
corruption test. So, and I don't have the page number for that. I've got it. This is where you can gain shadow. I think it's against your hope. Let's see. I got to refresh on that as well. Again, Brian would remember all this. 225.
I hated the pragmatic.
Whatever it is. just hit it.
I attacked the darkness.
Attack the hope.
Oh, I attack hope with. No, wait a minute. Is that wrong? I attack the darkness with hope.
I don't trust the hope.
Hope owes me money.
Alright. Adventurers accumulate shadow points to represent the growing burden of grief, doubt, weariness, and self-interest that comes to rest on the hearts and minds of those who oppose the shadow. While much corruption can be attributed to the anguish caused by the Dark Lord's deeds, the shadow can only work to exaggerate and nurture weaknesses that are already present. As the twilight of the Third Age approaches, the sources of corruption multiply and increase in severity. Heroes mainly risk gaining shadow points in 4 ways: experiencing distressing events, see anguish; crossing or dwelling in an area tainted by manifestations of the shadow, see blighted places; committing despicable or dishonorable deeds regardless of the end they sought to achieve, see misdeeds; taking possession of a cursed or tainted item or treasure. So we're going to blighted places. Darkness seems thicker in the lair of a wicked beast, and the air itself hangs gloomily where black treachery was once committed. Grief and suffering never abandon the pits once inhabited by servants of the Dark Lord, or the plains where bloody battles were fought. When a character enters or lingers in an area that has been infused with malice by the darkness and has become blighted, they must make a corruption test. If the test has failed, the character gains 1 point of shadow. Adventurers will usually only enter a blighted place when they really need to, but they could also stumble inadvertently into one in the course of a journey. The Lore Master can represent this by asking the players to make a corruption test when traveling through regions where the shadow falls more strongly. The Blighted Lands table, blah, blah, blah.
What do we roll?
That's what I'm trying to determine here.
You roll your
Give me all this preamble, but
Just roll all of that. That makes at least one.
into treasure, misdeeds,
Look at that.
anguish. It's far as shadow is concerned, the various region types classified in the Lore Master Services Guide.
I'm true-hearted.
Region blah with freelance being early blighted. My clients mostly know. It's not telling me.
Light immune.
When is an area blighted?
Besides, I've got my hobbit sense. I sense when hobbits are near. I'm sorry.
You have a detect earth spell, you trip and find it.
Exactly where I left it. I knew it was here somewhere. Yeah, see? True-hearted.
It's folklore, canine. So I wonder how those work, because those are distinctive features. The specialties are automatics.
I should have told a story to the river dudes.
Enemy lore.
I should have.
So that means
History.
I would have known about the.
The Beast of War.
Rhymed history.
Rhymes of War. I have no idea what it is.
Well, there
I would have been like.
It just keeps mentioning the feat die, but I'm assuming
think
that you get
that's
more
all
than
it
that.
is.
You just get a feat die roll.
Yeah.
That's it. Ooh.
The feet die.
By the way,
Just roll a 12-sided.
Do we have to get a 10? We get a 14.
I have the Shadow Lore distinctive feature. Would that have been able to give me a better way to prepare that carpet?
It'll help you if you run into like a foul creature that you have to fight or something like that. You know, it's
What if I have come across a foul creature that I have to cook?
It's fighting at the top.
You'll know not to cook it.
Oh yeah, no.
Go ahead and roll a feat die. I don't know. That's just for determining.
Yeah! The third one in a row.
I don't think that's the right roll.
That's probably
It's
the
completely different now.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I don't
No, we
either.
don't have Brian.
Culling.
Corruption, sources
Drill
of
into
heal
your
corruption. It's just sources of corruption.
Yeah, I think it's
25. Whoa!
Grab
Whoa!
the phone.
Get clear,
Grab the
clear,
phone.
clear.
Grab the phone.
Get all the electronics out of the way.
Don't electrocute yourself on the microphone. And we need towels.
Which we have. For some reason.
Yeah. The carpet will clean up my phone. Damn gravity. I don't know who invented that thing, but it's wrong. Gravity. that
We're
is.
not sure if it's a thing. It's only a theory.
Yes.
At least the idea of
Yeah, you
it.
just named it.
Holy cow. How can there possibly be this much water? I only had 1 cup.
Those are deceptively, like, large. In my.
Were you not aware of the
'Cause
gravity
I
of the
dropped-
situation?
I dropped
No.
one too.
Spilled water.
Okay. Wow, we got all the way over there?
Well, you you set your cup down and it splattered.
I blame my
I think that's our
focus.
first spill.
Who's your fellowship focus?
You.
Up here.
What?
Up here.
Yeah, up here.
I was gonna say, I definitely remember someone.
Oh, yeah,
that's
down
going
there,
all
yeah.
down.
Okay.
I spilled a soda on your stairs once.
Yeah, and it's still there.
A year
Still stained. Yeah, it's stained. I took the carpet cleaner to it and got some of it out, but not all of it. Okay, corruption test.
You're still.
Feat die plus your wisdom. Number of success dice equal to your wisdom rating.
Okay. That.
Wisdom rating.
Yes, so you only have a 0, 1, or 2 in your wisdom.
So.
Okay, that did.
So feat die plus 1 or 2 d6. Although Poppy has more. Wow, Poppy.
Gosh.
You are one wise character.
Only have 5.
I got 8.
Alright.
15.
12 with 1 success. With
Okay.
1 success mark.
You need a 14.
Pick up the end of the map.
You had 12 total?
Yes.
Okay, that's not enough to... You still have to, with those success dice, you still have to meet the target number. Or it doesn't...
Well, that
Count.
is no good.
Yeah.
So,
Unless it's a Gandalf.
says I get hobbit sense. I'm better at wisdom checks. Do I get any bonuses?
Possibly.
Because I need it.
Yeah.
Listen
I
here,
have
you
Hobbit
fool of a
sense, too.
toque.
Okay, Hobbit sense.
That's Hobbit sense is +1 to fellowship and wisdom rolls.
Okay.
And the best of 2 feet die.
Okay. So plus
Still
+1 to your roll. Then.
I'm like at 12.
Okay. So you need to equal or beat 14. So
I should
feet
have had
die
that.
plus a
I
wisdom.
rolled it
Okay. What'd you get?
2.
Okay. John.
I got a 12 total with,
Okay.
with nothing to show for it.
Poppy. 15.
On max success.
Okay.
8.
Okay.
Even with my bonus, I only get 12.
So everybody except Poppy and the elf gains a point of shadow when you wake up in the morning.
So
Spending the
we
night
know
there,
who
you
ate-
wake up
we all know
feeling
who ate
more
the carpet.
oppressed.
It's the car.
You're not sickly, you just feel more depressed and oppressed. So you would play accordingly. Everybody would be more subdued, maybe a little grouchy,
I'm chumming
feeling
the
a little
waters.
less heroic.
So I'm still the same?
Ryan,
Yes, indeed. Yes,
I'm just not
indeed.
used to these rough sleeping arrangements.
I'll put your
All right.
griping, you child.
But
What's wrong with you guys?
So you get back in the boat.
It's wet.
You get back in the boat.
It's always
You've got your smoked meat. Get back in the boat. Get back in the water and get
How many
rolling
days
along.
of smoked meat do we have?
It's enough to feed all of you for a full day's worth of food. So you save a day's worth of food.
Nice.
So none of you should have take rations away last night. You're still just good on the rations still.
I'm
Thanks to
only,
your hunters.
I'm only half in the boat.
Why?
I rolled a 2 on my shadow. I'm chumming the waters.
Why would you want to do
All right.
He's just
He wants to get another card.
So, anybody acting as a lookout gets 2 awareness rolls every day. We're gonna we're compressing all of this. This is a normally 3 or 4 session adventure. We're trying to compress it into 1 to expose you to these mechanics. So the lookouts, roll your awareness. First roll.
Oh, no.
Nice.
Ooh, okay.
666.
That would be 22 with 2 bonuses.
Okay, that's going to be helpful. And
I get the stink eye and a 6.
all right, so because you're in a blighted area, that would trigger a hazard. So something really bad would happen.
car.
It's the
We're
bomb.
gonna skim along. Well, like the boat might capsize, or a creature come up and poke a hole in it. It's something really bad.
Sorry,
It was
guys.
attracted by me
I was
chumming the
better.
You
waters.
know, a murder of crows attacks all of you, things like that. But we're gonna skip
Big
that.
Daddy comes to get revenge.
Since you succeeded on that one, you notice that you're being followed, and because you had extraordinary success, you recognize them as wood elves following you.
Well, I don't know.
Yes.
Actually, we could just
Are you
talk
a
to
wood
each
elf,
other.
or what kind of elf are you?
I don't know.
No, Wood Elf.
Elves of Mirkwood.
Yes, that's a wood elf.
Okay, then yes, I can talk
Okay.
to them.
So you're being followed by your kind. They're hidden. They're following in the trees and down in hidden ways. Everybody else is oblivious. You see them clear as
Can I just
day.
wave into basically the woods?
Okay, you can tell a few of them are kind of
What? It's fine.
yeah.
They're wondering why there's a trail of carp.
Do you call out to them?
Well, if they're going shh, then I don't know.
I
I
waved at
wave
them.
at
and
them.
they hushed him.
Yeah, you guys see him
Wave at something.
wave out to the west direction.
Ooh, what do you see, George? What do you see?
Oh.
I don't see it.
I
Where
see
the
friends.
lookout?
Okay, meanwhile, I would like scouts to go ahead and roll your explore or search, whichever is better. You're looking for signs of the passage of Balin.
Don't do search.
You only have one scout?
Yeah.
Okay, whichever is better.
Oh my gosh.
What'd you do?
Sauron.
Okay,
It must be
so that would trigger something really bad, possibly making you guys go off of the wrong trail in the wrong direction, costing 1 or more days of travel going the wrong way on a red herring, right? Following completely. Oh, I found a trail of Balin. Let's park the boat here and walk by land over here and get lost in the mist and just have a horrific day because of that one roll. Is how the
I don't
LM
see a
would play
problem with
that
this.
out. Yeah,
See,
We're
I'd
gonna
rather
go
have
in-
a
Worst lookout ever.
Horribly.
we're gonna go ahead and skip that.
I'd rather a red herring than more carp.
All right, quit carping on that.
So,
For the hell of it.
what are you doing, Elf?
Well, I waved and they shushed me,
Yes.
and I told everyone that my friends are here.
Oh, you did tell them that. Okay.
I told them that.
So, what do you guys say to that?
Oh, that's exciting.
Why
So,
would we be
well,
talking about
let's-
us?
We'll hold up.
What do you mean,
Maybe
friends?
they can help us.
Oh yeah. Can I, like, wave like really erratically to the wood elves?
She's trying to get the wood elves to like.
Ask
I
them if they
see
stole the
you.
dwarves.
You see one of them sigh heavily.
Oh, hey, ask if we can meet their king.
One of them says,
Weak on me.
Their king's much
I want to
faster.
swallow.
so indicates for you to steer the boat over to the shore there, the little spot. So you guys still can't see anything. You see him clear as day. There's a few up in the tree. There's some back there behind that tree and over there. None of you can see them. You don't know what he's talking about.
I only see the reflection
Well,
of
he's
myself.
told us that they're friends, and
Yes.
we've asked if he'll get them so
The
that
tree.
we can
Yep, and he's
talk to them.
told you to steer the boat over there, and you guys
So,
parked it
yeah.
there,
I
and you
stir-
still see nothing.
Very trusting.
Yeah, I did send
What
you my eyes. What are you talking about?
All right. So you then hear a silent voice from up in one of the trees, the one who'd been kind of gesturing at you very
A
irritatedly.
silent voice.
What? A quiet voice calling out quietly. What are you doing with these kind?
We are on an adventure.
What purpose do you traverse our kingdom lands?
We are on the lookout for dwarves that have gone missing.
And who are you?
I am Corinthian, right? No?
So are you using courtesy or awe?
Ooh, I am going to use ah.
So you're going to try to use your valor rather than your wisdom.
Yes.
Now hang on a second before you do that.
Okay.
What's your elf lore?
I have elven lore.
Yes. As a trader is a skill.
Specialty.
So you know that elves respect wisdom more than valor.
Yep, and I don't have that.
I don't have wisdom.
You also know that the wood elves are highly prejudiced against dwarves and hobbits, especially the combination of the two.
Oh, so you
Some more than others. You know that some are.
Okay.
Because of an incident that happened some years ago recently.
But we didn't do.
You don't know.
And
You don't
so-
know this.
And so you say that I need to get a 14.
On average.
On average, I need to get a 14.
On average.
And with a courtesy roll, my max is 10. Or get a
A Gandalf.
Gandalf room.
It's up to you.
I think I'm.
You're going to try to awe? All right, go for it. So,
No.
what you do?
I got a rune.
Nice. So, using awe, not courtesy.
Uh-huh.
So you're going to be kind of blustery, right? You're using valor, not wisdom. How do you talk to him? So you're going to be really heroic and awe-inspiring here
Okay.
about the mission and the quest that you're on, and try to, awe-inspire him that way.
Well, we are off to help gain favor with the Dwarf King, right? No.
It's less the content than the style of delivery.
Okay. Oh.
So can you be big and blustery? Like really over the top. We are on this epic adventure.
No.
Not quite that bad, but close to it.
Okay. We're off. We're going to do the thing and save the people. Bring peace to everyone and everything there around.
Where does the thing start?
Well, you said it's less about the content and more about.
That was a guideline. Not abandon the content.
Whatever this thing
More about does not mean none. Could you try that again, please?
Maybe.
With a little more content. The style was just right on. So you got that. Now maybe a little more content. Maybe like what you're actually doing. Unless you're trying to be dishonest.
Saving the dwarves.
Okay.
What are we doing?
Wait. Let me turn it again. Okay.
All right.
Hide
Let's
under the table.
rewind. Try again. Go ahead.
We're off to return 2 lost dwarves that have gone missing on their journey to...
Dwarves.
Yes, dwarves.
You
but
see him sneer.
they're kind dwarves. I can vouch for them, even though I've never met them. I swear.
What do we care about the fate of dwarves trespassing in our lands?
Can I try something?
If you want.
I'm gonna throw some courtesy at him here.
Okay.
Oh, get us on.
Geez, that's good. So 15, 22, and I got a doohickey by my 6.
So you got a great success. You got 22 and a great success.
Yes.
So what pleasant words are you using to buffer what he was saying?
I'm not an ignorant hobbit, but I've heard of the magnanimous graciousness of the wondrous, mysterious wood elves, and that they recognize a noble cause when they see it, and we're out to help 2 poor lost souls. Yeah, maybe the dwarves trespass, but I'm sure it was for a good reason, and your deeds would be well spoken throughout the land of your gracious, magnanimous,
Tell them how wise they are.
willing to forego past grudges and look forward to a more peaceful future for all creatures on Mill.
Forgo past grudges. He leaps down and the others come out. And you see that. So they come popping out of the air, it seems. And he walks up, to close to the boat and just glares at you. Do you know why I am on this horrid assignment?
Oh, as I said,
I was the cup bringer of Thranduil himself when a hobbit and some dwarves escaped under my watch.
I'm sure they had a good reason.
And this is where the king sent me.
But
So a cupbearer is a butler.
Okay.
For those of you who know the Hobbit,
That was pretty tough.
Thranduil imprisoned the dwarves, remember?
Mm-hmm.
And it was Bilbo who set them free.
in a barrel.
This was one of those folk that was responsible, who he is now being punished by being sent to the arse end of Mirkwood.
Do we happen
I'd
to-
like to use awe.
Okay.
Do we happen to know that those dwarves and hobbits were, I don't know, maybe a seed smog?
It doesn't feel like a
He
very
doesn't
great
care.
success.
Well, hang on.
So I have an automatic success.
Okay, what are you trying to say? What are you trying to awe him?
I stand up.
Okay.
I drop the massive carp head. On my side.
He sneers at it in disgust, but his eyes do go wide at the size of it.
Hence the awe. I am Baron. Carp killer.
Carpsicle.
We're here to remove the potential dwarves from your land.
Well, why didn't you say so in the first place? I do have to say, despite what happened, you're a far more polite hobbit than the one I met before.
Well-
Don't know about you.
He's excitable.
Looking at her.
Oh,
Poppy's a female hobbit.
And
she's a steady, stoic individual. She'll
Yes,
never run from a
yes,
fight.
that's enough. That's enough. Please.
and as for the dwarf that we have with us,
Yes,
we need a dwarf to find a dwarf.
that would make sense. Takes one to know one.
He's being punished too. He got in trouble. That's why he had to come.
Really?
Really? Yeah.
What for?
Yeah.
What?
He was very lippy to the what town were we in?
Esgaroth, Lake Town.
He was very lippy to another dwarf in Lake Town, and he made him come with us because he was lippy and disrespectful, and so he made him face the danger with us.
That seems fair.
So he's doing penance.
He's stepping away from the sticky carpet. again.
I rest my axe in the hole that I have.
The groove that's there. For
The groove to kind of prove that yes, I did kill this.
So you actually now know who this is from what he described. Like, oh, it's him. So you know him to be Galleon. He got consigned by the king to patrol duty in basically the worst area of Mirkwood, or one of the worst areas of Mirkwood, for drunkenness while on duty, because he was one of the elves that passed out drunk. Remember in The Hobbit, the elves. He's one of the ones who passed out drunk, sampling the wine. And let the group of dwarves escape from the royal halls.
Spider bait.
So, thanks to your success and your success and your success, we would then role play through him. We would have a nice back and forth dialogue of clues that would unravel. I'm going to read them to you so we can move on to the next thing. But this would be a whole hour potentially of dialogue, and at least half an hour of dialogue and interaction.
I do eventually put the
But between your automatic success, your great success, and your extraordinary success, you would accumulate all of the information that they have available to give you. So there's a few points here. So nicely done between the three of you, working cooperatively that way. Now, one thing we haven't been doing, because we haven't had time, is the ability to re-roll and spend hope to re-roll failed rolls. So we've been letting it just run the way it is, which is how I prefer it. I personally don't like re-rolls. I much more prefer that people try to overcome obstacles that are laid out in front of them without getting do-overs. You know, I helped him a little bit here with that thing, but as far as rolls and such, I'd rather just let the dice roll as they lie and then deal with the consequences. But a lot of systems nowadays have these reroll features, and that's, you know, whatever. It's telling of our time. All right.
D&D should not have participation trophies. Just saying.
So,
Tread lightly.
Galleon wanted to discover what the recent traffic on the river is due to. A few days ago, they were keeping an eye on Balin and Owen, as the two emissaries were heading south on a small boat. The elves followed them for many miles until one night, and again, you would have not gotten this information if you had not gotten this accumulation of rolls and such. Your roll right there, you could have gotten all of this out of him away from them. You would have need to actually talk to him away from them, because as long as he's staring at a hobbit and a dwarf, he was going to be difficult. Yeah. So the best thing you could have done, and I would have helped work you through that, is go talk over here, out of sight, and then you would get all this info, and he'd be like imparting it to Kindred. He was not going to want to share that in front of them. But this is the stuff between all of you are able to glean. The elves followed them for many miles until one night the two dwarves simply disappeared from their encampment. Galleon thinks that they might have discovered that they were being followed and chose to sneak away quietly. He didn't inquire further and returned, as these parts of the marshes are too close to the mountains of Mirkwood for him to tarry for too long. So if the encounter proceeds well, the elves might be persuaded to lead the company to where Balin made camp before disappearing. The players might need more than a few good rolls, as Galleon wants information in exchange for information. If the companions fail enough rolls to exceed the tolerance rating, remember, you get a certain number of failures and that's it, they're done with you. For the encounter, it is possible that Galleon has been made suspicious by the behavior of the heroes. Maybe they mention that they are looking for Balin, one of the dwarves that Galleon considers responsible for his current misfortune. Whatever the reason, if the lore master considers that the encounter was ended on a sour note, the wood elves leave the company for good and disappear into the forest without offering their help. And you had a -1 for if there's a dwarf in the party, or -2 if there's a dwarf and a hobbit. So -1 if there's either a dwarf or a hobbit, -2 if there's both, to the tolerance rating. So basically, you can't ever get lower than a 1 tolerance rating where you're allowed 1 bad roll, but that's it. It's not good. All right. So they are willing, thanks to Kindred here, to guide you to where Balin's camp is. It will take another full day and a half of travel to get there, but at least now you got the guides to take you there. Because of your positive rolls. If none of you had gotten any positive rolls, you would be out of luck and just have to rely on your skills. The company will discover where Balin made his last camp if they're led there by Galleon, or if they're following the right leads. They completed the prolonged action. So there was a lot of other roles, if you'd failed here with the elves, there was fallback on your skills. You do prolonged actions, which are different than short actions. It's a whole other variant of the rules that you make these continued. You basically make like 4 rolls in a day, and you have to get 4 successful rolls in that day for it to finally meet a threshold of success. So again, lots of gradients of success and failure here. So it's a patch of dry land rising to the west of the river course, a few miles north of where a stream descends from the mountains of Mirkwood to join the river running, known as the Rotting River, a brook of dark and muddy waters that the elves generally like to avoid. It exudes putrescent reek even in the coldest months of the year. Okay, so it's going to take you actually, yeah, so this is your second day, so it'll take you most of the day to get here, just in time to have a look around. Okay, so yeah, it'll take you till the end of tomorrow to get there. So the rest of the day, the elves do not camp anywhere near you that night, but they do point you to a camping spot you can spend. Night goes through uneventfully. You eat your heart. Eat your heart out.
Yeah.
Your heart's content.
Yes. And then the next morning, everybody needs to roll their corruption check. So remember, that's your wisdom. So it's a feat die plus the number of success dice based on your wisdom.
And where do I put my shadow points?
You're not even going to roll.
No, I already failed once.
You got to roll again. You roll each time.
Yeah, I know it builds up.
Oh, but you didn't write it down already? Don't you have a shadow points then?
It's
Down
like
by
down.
a hope.
Where's your hope?
It's by
Little circle
misery,
by- right there.
miserable, or
Okay.
wounded.
Can I use one of ooh. Can I use one of those chips?
Oh my god.
How do you go to?
Yes.
Okay, so you did okay.
And I have a.
So you got a great success. I don't know if that means you gain. I think you have to be in a nice place to undo the shadow corruption and stuff. But I know I'm forgetting something with the tribute bonus. I think that's the tribute bonus is if you. That's it. If you fail your roll, you can spend a hope point to add your attribute bonus, which in this case would be heart. So who failed? Oh, jeez. So it was only you, Dan, that succeeded this time.
I got the card.
How much did you fail by?
I got literally the worst roll possible.
What'd you get?
I got Soren's Eye and 2
Okay,
ones.
so there's nothing you can do. Spending a hope point won't save you.
Can I
And
use
you made a
fellowship?
hazard for
Can I
everybody,
use a
too.
fellowship?
I don't think you can undo a Sauron Eye with the Fellowship.
Okay, I don't remember.
No, I think that's if you need hope points and such.
Okay.
What
I
did
got
you
a
get?
Sauron eye.
You got 2 Sauron Eyes.
I got one too.
3.
3s? Oh, you guys are dying.
I told you guys.
You're so
to stop
dead.
eating the
All right,
cup.
Danielle, what did you get?
I think I got an 8. I picked it up. But I got like
Okay,
Less
what
than
is
honest
your heart rating?
16.
No,
That's your hope. Your heart's
Heart.
Or 4.
it's not a 16.
I'm looking at
It's
we
cool.
were
All
talking
right,
about
so
words.
an 8 is plus 4 is not enough to get 14. Let's say you rolled a 10. What did you get, Shane?
I got 12
Okay,
together.
what's your heart?
5.
Okay, so you got a 12. You failed your roll, but if you spend a hope point, you can apply your heart bonus. So that's a 5. That would make it 17, which means you would then pass it and not gain a shadow point. You would lose a hope, but you don't gain a shadow point.
Gotcha.
How many extra shadow points does my Sauron Eye give me?
I'll have to look that up. I think it's just mostly those are hazards.
So,
3 of them. It's fine.
wanted to see if I could possibly bend the rules here. Since I'm such a good storyteller, could
Uh-huh.
that bring up...
There are ways in certain circumstances to try to raise up, the morale. Not with Sauron Eyes, though.
Well, not with
the only
Sauron
one you can help is her.
So, tell her a happy story.
For tonight, we're gonna skip over because I don't remember what the rule is. There are ways to do that. You won't help these 3. They're doomed.
I'm
Doomed.
because of the elves.
Doomed.
It's not on a
In a lot.
log. No, there's
So
no
corruption test me 45.
Oh, I thought you stepped in a log.
No, left is.
Oh, you
I told you guys to stop eating the carp.
Oh man, I just thought of something great.
Okay, so this is for
Said to the
corruption
elves.
test.
That when that hobbit got back to the Shire, everyone thought he was trouble. Too late now.
It's the hobbit.
because they said dwarves and a hobbit.
225.
That's gonna be any.
And everybody knows about Bilbo.
Does everybody know? Does he know about Bilbo? He didn't know about
All the hobbits know about Bilbo.
Oh.
Bilbo Baggins,
Chris
greatest
won't
little
shut up
hobbit
about
of
the
them
stupid
all.
ring that he came back with. Bilbo, he's such a great hobbit. Oh, look at Bilbo. He did such a
Okay, so
Played
you
the entire
rolled.
Shire.
Okay. So first you have to be miserable, and then you could have a bout of madness. I think it just invokes a hazard, if that.
Okay.
Doesn't sound bad at all.
Not miserable at all.
No.
So we're getting attacked by birds and spiders and
And
bears.
alligators
Oh
or
my!
Yeah, now there's alligators.
No, we're getting attacked.
So
by
when your
the-
shadow points exceed your hope score, you've been made miserable, as your spirit is weakened by too much grief and sorrow. So just keep that in mind.
So only 10 more days of this misery.
So.
Oh no, there's stuff that can you can like 4 points like that. It can happen very quickly. All right.
Ah.
So each of you just gains, except for the Hobbit, the 4 of you all gain 1 point of shadow.
Okay.
Maybe I should have picked a better bedtime story.
Yeah, heroes reduce their current shadow rating attempting a craft or song roll with a target number of 14. On a successful roll, they reduce their score by 2 points on success. But this is when you're on your fellowship phase. This is after the adventure. You can do that. You would sing a song or craft something and then try to reduce
No, I'll sing a song.
reduce them by 2 to 4
You
points.
don't want me singing that
Yeah,
song.
but for now that's not going to help you. All right, but you have to get somewhere where you have a safe haven first. All right. So the day travels on. You don't need to roll. Excuse me. Your search checks because the elves are guiding you, and everybody does need to roll 1 athletics check, but except the guide or the scout.
No, the Scotch.
Or no, the guide. Sorry.
Right, okay.
Because you've got the elves.
Oh no!
So all this is going to just be is what rowing does to you. What'd you get?
I'm
7.
I feel
And you've had to
these
back
guys are-
paddle and row. Okay. So add more fatigue. Poppy?
24 with a great
So
success.
no fatigue. You're feeling vibrant. You're energized.
On success with a bonus 6.
Okay, you're feeling great.
Sora and I was 6.
So yeah, you definitely got encumbrance and you fell in the water once.
Okay.
You went over to get something and
And
went in
where is
head
that?
first into the muck.
Your dog drowned.
And you went into the muck head first. What'd you get, Hobbit?
16.
I'm a success and 2 to grow.
Excellent. So you 3 are, oppressed and sad from the shadow, but physically feeling okay.
I'm not depressed.
The others not so
What a
much.
beautiful
Your
story.
dog has to swim next to the boat.
All right.
My poor doggy.
So-
I'm encumbered.
He's doing the hobbit paddle.
I'm towards my weary voice, so and that's
When
I feel like 90% of the time we either get the auto success and the auto fail.
Yeah.
When
you were
your
doing that. Or 2.
That's why I think
fatigue is greater than your starting score, I think.
Okay.
I forget. We'll have to worry about that in a little bit here. Remind me to pull that up again. Again, I'm so rusty on all this. Like I remember there were things, but it's
There's
the exact
things
numbers.
and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, it's better than not knowing at all.
doing the thing.
All right, so they finally, towards that second night, so this is the 3rd night under the eaves of Mirkwood here. They bring you to the camp, and again, you can smell the putrescent smell from the south, from the rotting river. That the elf, at least you know that's what it is. I don't know if you've told any of them.
No.
Okay. All of you smell some putrescent smell above the normal putrescence you've been smelling since
I
you
assume
entered
it's the
here.
elf.
I'm assuming it's a carp.
Is that what I did?
And you arrive just a little bit before darkness falls. You guys want to, and then the elves quickly leave without another word. What do you guys do?
Well, I guess we should camp.
Well, remember, this is supposed to be Balin's camp, so usually what
We
you do
investigate
is you
Balin's
would
camp.
search.
Yeah.
Everybody would, or whoever you want to, would search.
Explore?
I'm
Search. Specifically search.
Oh, good. I'm good at that.
I'm not.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not. I don't
Okay.
want to search.
So you can make camp.
I'm just gonna.
I'm gonna hold search.
Okay?
I'm just gonna. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna.
Nicely done.
I looked a tiny
I got
bit,
lucky.
and then I
17.
decided,
Okay.
eh,
16 with an extraordinary success.
Nice.
10.
1.
Okay.
Auto success with 8 for a good measure.
Nice. You got 2 automatic successes and a great success. So,
And a regular success.
and righteousness. So if the companions have a look around and succeed in a search roll, they find traces of the many days old encampment. A great success indicates that the 2 dwarves, you find out enough information to tell that they set up camp, but they didn't sleep there. And an extraordinary result. Did anybody get extraordinary?
Yes.
Okay. So you see how these gradients, very handy, isn't it?
Very cool.
And they do the same thing in Doctor Who, don't they?
Yes.
They have gradient success in Doctor Who too.
Yep.
Yeah, because
There's
it's
a
cubicle
yes,
7,
but-
so
Yeah.
exactly.
You succeeded, but...
Um,
you pulled your shoulder muscle.
what did you roll?
17.
Okay, so you got a success, and you had an extraordinary success.
Yeah.
So you find something that you're wondering about, and it looks kind of dwarvish, so you're inclined to go to him.
Okay.
Do you?
Yes.
Okay, so between the
It's
2
more
of
than your
you,
spoon.
you discover hidden away a box tucked in a rotten stump that you almost couldn't look like. Even looking at it, your eyes keep wanting to wander off because it was protected by a spell of secrecy. So again, the NPCs can do this, the PCs can't.
Rude.
Cut hastily but efficaciously on the bark of the tree, if the searching character is a dwarf, it only takes a normal success to find the spell-protected box. So the 2 of you kind of find it together, though.
Okay.
Because it needed an extraordinary success for anybody
Why
else,
are you supposed to
regular
roll
success for the dwarf.
Right there.
So, who wants to retrieve the box in the hidden spot? It's clearly...
Yeah. I'll grab it.
I'll let him.
Okay. The box is a small ivory jewel case with intricately carven images of regal-looking birds, clearly the great eagles of the Misty Mountains.
Ooh, this must be the treasure they're supposed to bring to the Eagles.
Do you open it?
Is it locked?
Nope. It has a clasp, but it's not locked.
Alright, I have dragon sickness, so I am required to open it.
The box contains... well, first of all, when you open it, in the waning daylight that's trickling through the trees, which there isn't a whole lot... okay, so there's a parchment rolled around something, wound about by a fine necklace of twisted gold wire. And it feels like there's something heavy inside it.
Okay. So
Do you open that up?
I very carefully examine it.
Okay. Do you open it? Like the letter on...
I would have to. I'm
Yes,
open
okay.
to examine it.
So it's a written and intricately illuminated parchment of King Dane's letter to the King of the Eagles. So gold and all that beautiful writing. It was wound about by a fine necklace of twisted gold wire, and inside the parchment, as you unwrap it, it catches all of the light that's left and refracts and reflects it. It's a magnificent precious stone of a snowy color, the size of a small fist. And when you open it, all the surrounding light is caught and multiplied by the jewel's countless facets, making the box in your hand and what you're holding shine as if it contained an inner light. It is a lordly gift intended to pass from one king to another. As the stone comes from the hoard of Smaug, the dragon's wickedness still lingers upon it. When they first lay their eyes on it, all heroes must pass a corruption test or gain a shadow point, as a fierce desire is kindled in their hearts.
Come on, wisdom.
I'm
guys,
going
you have penalty for that?
insane.
Automatic success.
I am going insane.
I mean,
Well, you're gonna react even worse to it. You go ahead and roll, and then if you fail, your reaction is worse because you have dragon sickness, so you're more susceptible to madness.
I have an automatic success though
Okay,
Wonderful.
so you're managing to resist your dragon sickness.
But I should definitely keep this for safekeeping. So, would True-Hearted help me with this at all?
Yes,
Okay, cool.
I believe so.
It's a distinctive feature. But
It is a distinctive feature. Let's see here. We keep coming across it. We're running tight on time here. True-Hearted. True-Hearted trait distinctive feature 100.
That's a nice one.
Yeah,
Let's see.
And a little push.
It doesn't tell me what I need.
Caffeine on my home.
True-Hearted. Why does it say 100? Whoa! Stop.
Nope, that's not diagnosed.
Well, at least you know it's not her.
So now it's William.
I'm not calling her.
I am not.
Okay.
The phones have just been ringing off the hook today.
I'm sorry.
I'll put your number so I can call you.
Everybody, quick dial up. Oh, I picked up the shadow point there, bud.
What? I got it on my cassette. So
I mean, the last you took 3 shadow points from calling Hawke.
well, I didn't call Hawke. I just threatened the question.
Okay, so only 1.
Okay.
Okay, Hobbits of the Shire. Oh, that's all. Okay, I gotta get under wisdom here. No, that's gear.
Hobbits, wisdom. How are these 2 words being said in the same sentence?
I beg your pardon.
Most hobbits are very
That's not real hard.
even
You just
keeled.
got it. I understand.
There's just a
The
few
other
of
two
us
guys
that
are pretty good.
don't know their place in the world.
Normalized than you, little man.
All I know is
consider
that
it real
baggins
hard
and
when you have
tooks.
an automatic fail with some really damn good die.
Yeah, but if you got a 3, that would have been a success. See, it's
Well-
right next to it.
Wait, they're both from the same family. Or at least by marriage.
I got a success with a nudge on my 6, so if you want to look it up later.
Yeah, I got Art of Disappearing, Brave at a Pinch, Fair Shot, Tough Enough. I've not seen. I remember this. We've had this problem before with looking these up because of the way it's organized. We've run into this problem before. Anyway, I think you do get better resistance, but you're fine. Okay, so who failed the check? Okay,
I saw Ryan.
so you gain
Shadow point?
at least.
And you have to
Yeah, you gain a shadow point.
What was the difficulty?
14.
Yeah, I failed.
Okay, so another shadow point.
I'm gonna pull the board from here. We kept this going.
All right. So anyway, you wrap it back up and everything because
Yep.
everybody's eyeballing it pretty
Oh, I
greedily.
put it up, I tried to
All
get
right.
back exactly where I found it, and I tuck it in my cloak for safekeeping.
Okay.
I was going because knowing Dwar's history with treasure and stuff, could I persuade him that maybe I should carry it for safekeeping?
You can try. Keep in mind, it's dwarves delivering. It's a dwarf protecting. This came from dwarves, going as representatives to dwarves to the eagles.
I get it.
All right,
This
give
is
it a
like
shot.
dwarven
You doing a
treasure.
persuade check?
Yeah,
All right.
You fail.
Yeah.
Yeah?
What'd you get?
I got 9.
All right, so go ahead and try your argument.
Well, one dwarf was already taken for this. They're obviously looking for dwarves. Somebody knows that dwarves has this. So maybe if somebody besides a dwarf was holding it, it'd be safer. And then once we get there, I'll give it back to you, and you can give it to the eagles. This is the responsibility of the dwarves. And look how that turned out. This is why we're here. This is why I'm suffering in this nasty marsh.
It's like,
Because you dwarves can't do your job. If I'm failing, I might as well go for it.
No, that's beautiful. That's exactly right. Exactly right. Nicely done. Good
I could be
illustration.
eating a mushroom pie right now in my little hobbit hole.
Oh, I
smoking
could get
broken
you a
in-
mushroom pie, all right.
Good. So as the shadow
can't
takes
even
over. Excellent. So now it's nighttime. Make camp,
Yes.
make a fire, all that.
Big fire.
Big fire. Now, yes.
Can I try and tell her a story to cheer her up and then shadow her a little?
Well,
bit?
we're gonna accelerate because we're running out of time here.
Oh, that's at the end.
So, this is normally an encounter with the stone troll, and it's a difficult hazard. Or any time that you guys rolled those hazards, I could have activated the stone troll.
Can we just say that we set up the fire in the belly of the stone troll?
Well, that's
And that's why we didn't have to do it.
sure. You find the old stone troll by the little pond area and make a huge fire in its belly.
Feels like home.
Fire, smoke comes pouring out of its eyes and mouth and everything. And
Oh, that's going to make a great story when we get back home.
Welcome.
all right,
Remember my old friend who made this fireplace?
night goes through uneventfully. Other than that, so third and final part of the adventure starts when the adventurers finally get near the lair. Blah blah blah. You get to where the river meets the old forest road. So this is what, the 4th day since you left Esgaroth, or 5th? It's been 3 days. 3 days in Mirkwood and 2 days. So,
Yeah.
oh, you did rush it. Okay,
Yeah.
so
4
Alright.
days.
all right, but this is day 5 starting.
Right.
Yes.
So much misery.
Are you sure you shouldn't have played them right?
Are we out of the gloom trees now?
No, he plays the break too often.
Yeah.
Just so I can do that, grump.
So you guys get back in the. Let's see. So at this point, you know that they were here, but they wandered off. Go ahead and everybody roll search or scout, whichever is better. Because now you need to figure out where they went from here, right? You know Balin and company were here.
They're both the same.
You know Balin and company were here, but you don't know where they went from here.
Search, hunting, little. Just made it.
9.
Automatic success.
13. I'm the scout, and
Okay.
I only got 13.
Okay.
23 was an extraordinary
Wow.
success.
Okay.
I was too busy looking, making sure the treasure was tucked away hide.
Okay.
Well,
3.
Okay.
23 was
And
extraordinary.
Danielle.
I got a. Just had it in my brain and lost it. 13.
Okay.
Lucky number.
14, just made it.
Just enough.
Unless
Extraordinary
my wisdom
success
counts, so I get
and
some.
automatic success. Okay, so you guys managed to find some hints to get back in the boat and continue traveling south, trying to find little bits and clues of their passage here and there. And you come up on the rotting river. It's just this black, foul putrescence emptying into the pond here. Just darker than anything. Oh, it
Oh, it smells like
reeks
halfling foot.
horribly.
I pushed him into the.
What's a halfling?
Okay, both of you roll an athletics, opposed athletics check here.
Oh, wait. What's that racist remark? You're 30. 5. I'm going swimming.
16, 17, 18, 19 with a great success.
So, with not the epic one, but with a great success, how does he go in?
I lift his foot and push him over the side of the
Airborne,
boat.
and, like on his back, on his front, on his head, what?
Head first.
Head first.
That's enough out of
into
you.
the rotting river muck.
That is enough out of you.
Come up.
That'll teach you, you greedy son. Should have let me carry the truth. Ha!
Oh, great fellowship going on here. Wonderful.
I'm gonna trudge.
No respect for the beard.
I'm gonna trudge over and just grab him by the waist and drag him up.
All right. So you find clues that you need to continue south. Probably in the boat's the best option. Everybody get back in the boat. He reeks horrifically.
He's put on the end of the boat.
Well, he's the guide anyway.
He's the guy.
Smell like them. Halfway.
So you continue on beyond the rotting river. The watercourse breaks against tangles of hoary willow trees standing close together and shutting out the light of day even at its brightest. Their drooping branches trail into the water, and their molding roots sink deep into the gray slime. The river disappears in a vast fen without wind or tide.
I'm gonna start looking out for things that look like mooses.
Well, all these branches hanging down everywhere, all
because
these
I'm
willow
remembering
trees and everything.
The gallows weed.
Okay.
Well, since I'm a scout, I'm going to be looking really hard for that.
Okay, so scouting the marsh beyond the rotting river is translated into another prolonged action requiring at least a total of 6 successful rolls.
Holy
Heroes acting as scouts may choose from Explore or Search. For every 2 successful rolls, the lore master may pick one of the following clues and reveal it to their players as the result of their search.
All right. Yeah. Well,
go.
that's a success.
Okay, and you get like 1 per hour, so
Okay.
So
you have to get 2. So the
can I
next
be
hour,
scouting for the retreat or not?
you're rowing.
Oh.
9.
Let's you scout. You have to stop each time for them to do this. So
13.
you can if you want to
13
say that you.
success failed.
Okay, so okay, second hour nothing.
I failed.
Okay, third hour nothing.
Succeeded?
Mm,
Yeah, 14. Is
Okay.
it 14?
So you
Oh,
find.
you got a thing too.
Oh, and it's a great.
Grace says, okay, you find a wrecked boat. You find a small boat that you believe was used by Balin and Owen. It was kind of sunk under the marshy waters, but it was visible from the surface as the water was just a few feet deep, so you almost rode right over it. It looks damaged as if something slashed at it with fangs or claws. There are no signs of the 2 missing dwarves.
Okay, so that was
Okay.
number 4, right?
Yes.
Yep,
Wasn't a dragon, was it?
doesn't seem to be.
Boom!
2 great success.
Okay,
23.
Right, yeah.
okay, so that's 5, 6. Hour 6, what?
23.
I got that, and that only affects certain things as far as, yeah. Still have to have successes to them.
Oh,
Yes.
Yay, I did it.
Okay, another one. So now we're 7. Ancient bones. Several stretches of the marsh are strewn with bones of different ages. The remains belong to animals and men, victims of some horrible creatures.
Okay, she got 2 successes in a row there.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that's why another clue.
6.
Okay.
Every 2 is
every
another.
2 you get a clue.
another
that
clue.
Was what I was not.
Yeah.
That was not
Yeah.
what I was not
Okay, so
understanding.
now number 8 and 9. Roll
No, 7 and 8.
7, 8. You did 7, 8 already.
No, this is 7 and 8.
Okay. Really?
Yeah.
Boom.
Automatic.
4.
Okay.
Well, this is.
It's all right. Don't worry. And
Oh,
I would be keeping chip marks.
5
if
and
you
6.
rush
No,
it.
5 and 6.
So second one didn't succeed. So another hour. It's starting to get late.
Oh, Sarah.
Okay, so a hazard, something bad would happen. Roll again. It's getting darker. In the heavy overcast.
9. That's 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ruins.
Yeah.
The last vestiges of an ancient town jut out from the slime and the mud. Little stubbed fingers and broken teeth, lonely pillars, small marble arches, and wet walls with grinning gargoyles stare at the unexpected visitors. So, when the adventurers have accumulated a total of 6 successful rolls, they will have found their way to blah blah blah. In the meantime, there are 2 menaces to watch out for. So, again, we're kind of speeding through the mechanics here. So, one of the things, of course, he's been watching out for, and let me. So, everybody roll an awareness. So, this is while you're still searching, right? We haven't gotten to that. You're searching actively around. Because, again, we're accelerating through here. Sarai, excellent.
I found one.
All right. Who got Sarai? Who failed? Raise your hand.
Well, I can't possibly roll high enough with only 2 dice.
Well, you can get an automatic success.
yeah,
So who failed?
I failed.
What
All
did you
right.
roll?
You have 14 or higher
Oh, okay.
for awareness. Okay, so hands again. Who failed? All right. So as you're rowing along searching, the next thing the 2 of you know is the boat's practically empty except for the 2 of you. And you look up and you see the 4 of them pulled up by their necks by what looks like willow branches looped around their necks, lifting them rapidly up into the trees, disappearing.
You gotta look out for those.
You're being pulled from the ground towards the tree branch from which the weed is hanging. So these are the gallows weed. Again, we're accelerating. Normally this is a drawn out one by one and you have to do all sorts of stuff. So, When a character is ensnared, they immediately lose a number of endurance points equal to half their fatigue score.
I have one fatigue.
If the character doesn't pass out, they may free themselves by succeeding in a roll of athletics. On a failed roll, they lose another 3 points of endurance and must try again.
I did not follow that.
Okay, so you immediately lose a number of endurance points equal to half your fatigue score.
Okay.
0 then.
8.
So.
Is it because of what's
So-
featured?
Because they just
Oh, wait a
went,
minute. So, do I take half of the 20 that's there, or the
Yeah.
fatigue that I've earned while I'm walking?
no, the,
20 there.
the half of the 20.
Because
Oh,
that's
so
from your
10 endurance.
that's from all your gear you've had.
16.
So I put about 10 here?
So I don't add to the fatigue
Well,
that I was building up.
it's this minus that.
You
minus
lose a
half
number
of
of
it, so
endurance
31
points. You're not
minus
losing. You're not
10.
losing fatigue. You're losing
Oh,
endurance
21.
points
21. Okay, got it.
equal to your half your fatigue score.
Sorry, 21 endurance.
So,
I don't understand them.
did your fatigue then exceed your endurance
Yeah.
by a lot or a little?
It probably should be a lot because most people start out with
Half.
a lot.
So, I believe you pass out.
Oh, they're all passed out.
No,
No,
mine.
not everybody.
Oh yeah. Shoot.
What about you, Dan?
I'm at
7.
You're
So you're not passed
17.
out.
But the 14 plus the 4 is 18.
So take
Well, you're going
Well,
to
I
take the
did-
7
Oh.
from that.
Figuring
Oh,
out-
okay.
That drops to 21, and then you see if that exceeds
minus
that.
8.
Oh, okay.
And if it doesn't exceed it, you
21
don't
is
pass
higher
out.
than 20, so I'm good.
Okay,
So I'm
Oh wait, so are we not? We're at the same as ours.
You don't.
So
it doesn't
10
apply to you guys because you guys.
Yes,
didn't
you're
get-
No,
just
he did. I
claiming
did it.
consciousness.
Oh, okay.
I was just
Just
wondering how you
barely.
guys were doing it.
Yeah.
All right.
I was wrong.
So,
I am
you hung in
right
there?
at the number.
You hung in there then?
I'm at 8 and 8.
8 and 8? Okay, so if you didn't pass out, you're right on the verge. Because I think it has to exceed the score. Equally
Okay.
makes you, I think, weary or whatever, but you have to exceed it. If you didn't pass out, roll an athletics check. If you succeed, we'll see. But if you fail, you lose another 3 points of endurance.
Oh, succeed.
So,
No.
How many
what
more
I got
of
on
these?
the
Gandalf and a great success.
I pass out.
Once you lose one?
if you fail, you lose another 3 points of endurance.
Okay, so I'm unconscious.
So you'll pass out. Okay, so you're dangling by your neck.
Did she add her
Gandalf and a great success.
All right? You're
I'm-
okay.
I passed out.
You're passed out. All right, so those two are dangling unconsciously.
I'm crucified.
Yeah, did you pass out or are you still conscious?
I'm passed out with the Sauron.
All right, so the 3 of them have passed out
And
already.
this is like the second Sauron night.
They
that
went-
I
and they're being pulled up into the trees.
What about me?
You're still good to go. Since you succeeded, you break yourself free and fall back into the boat. Now, that all happened in that one round already. That they just got to check that, right? So another companion may try to cut free the victim of gallows weed. Depends on how you want to do that. So, what do you want to do to try to free the 3 who dangling?
It's funny because you two are fellowship folk switchers, right?
So who's
Yeah.
got fellowship focus?
And you're my fellowship focus because I wasn't gonna choose the dwarf. No offense, dwarf, but it didn't make sense.
I'm gonna vote for racist.
Okay,
I didn't
because
choose
if somebody
anyone,
that
it's
you
my
have
dog.
fellowship focus on is dangling, you could be operating at a penalty.
Well,
If you
I'm good. But
But
I'm unaware
that's-
of anything
but
else.
that's later.
I-
That's
I-
later.
I was gonna try to help someone.
I'm gonna use my bow of the North Downs, and my fair shot.
Okay.
So for bow, that's 3, and
Critical
I'll
failure. She
go
shoots
for
us.
the Bjorning first.
Go for the Bjorning first. Okay.
How high are they?
About 6 feet up. Their feet are 6 feet up off the boat
14.
and rising.
Okay.
14.
Yeah.
All right. You hit. No great success or extraordinary
No.
success. All right. You shoot one of them. No problem. Strike it into the trunk, but it continues. The rest of it still pulling him up.
I wasn't
didn't-
aiming for the tree. I was aiming for the
The,
vine.
right, yeah.
Okay.
It shot through it, but it didn't break it.
Through it, but didn't break
You
it.
have to get a great or extraordinary success to
Okay.
free them.
Can I?
Hang on, that was your attack.
Oh, that was
Can
Yes.
I try
no,
trying-
no.
Oh,
For
you
a
get-
shot, it's the best of 2.
Oh, sorry. Never mind. Go ahead. I stand corrected.
There you go.
Extraordinary success.
That's what I'm talking
So
about.
your better shot slices through, and he falls to the boat with a thwack.
Can I just
Back into
run
the
into
boat.
the water?
Nope.
Question.
Into the boat.
Is the bride's dog also?
No, we haven't been.
Wait,
It's laying low. It's laying low in the boat.
Okay.
Doggy.
Well,
Alright.
I'm just gonna kind of swing my.
I'll break the fall of
spear
everyone
up
else.
there. I don't know if I can. I don't know if I
You're
can.
gonna try to free her or
Who's
him?
closer?
Him.
Okay, I'm gonna go for him.
All right. Roll.
And I'm
Boom.
That
Boom!
would be 21 with extraordinary.
Extraordinary success. All right, you slice it, and he falls. Boom! It's still clinging to his neck, choking him though.
I
Pull it loose. Okay. Starts breathing and coughing.
Let's see if we can make it 3. I'm going to try
Okay,
to save
now the
Brian.
boat has floated downstream enough.
Oh no, I'm gonna be in the muck. I am
What'd
not
you
in
get?
the muck. I am hanging.
What'd you get? What are you attacking with?
12 my bow. 'cause
Okay,
I'm too
you
short.
hit it, no problem. You nail it with your arrow, but it's not enough to break it, and it lynches up a little tighter. You hear like the bones kind of pop out a
That's
little
what
bit.
I wanted.
Okay.
Not what I wanted.
Can I try again? to save
Now
her?
it's the next round.
Animal
Let's see. Once you're unconscious,
I'm not unconscious.
no,
No, me.
Oh.
her.
I find myself in this position where I'm entrapped and can't save myself.
It's a freaking day for you. It's almost a hobby.
Maybe
It
if I
is
tuck nice.
almost a hobby.
If
Who
I tuck
accepted
nicely, the
spiders
girl
this
is let her
time?
go.
All right. Yeah, just go ahead and roll. Here, go ahead.
I'm
Best
dying.
of 2 though.
Yeah.
But best of 2, yeah.
You're not having your
6, 7,
usual
8, 9,
luck.
10, 11, 12.
Yeah,
Nope.
not your usual. You hit, but it's not enough to cut it loose.
Right.
Fellow Hobbit.
No.
Nope.
Jeez.
All right.
7?
You are lynched up and out of sight into the tree.
Oh,
It's nice knowing
didn't
you.
get it.
Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry. Yeah,
Okay.
you get your attack. You're now 10 feet up and over the water.
I don't know how
So,
to attack me.
You're gonna have to
Spear.
leap. You're gonna
Okay,
do a
alright.
leap to try
So
if you
what
want
do
to try
I-
to save her.
Okay.
No, get me.
No, I'm just what we needed. I have Sauron.
So you go leaping on up, and don't even hit. Well, you do still slice, it's not enough to break, and then your arms and neck get tangled up in mid leap. Roll an athletics check as gallows weed tries to wrap around your neck,
No,
or does wrap around your neck.
No, it
But you gotta see if you break free.
If I, oh, that's not good. Okay, well we got.
You got gallows.
Oh, dang.
What'd you get?
That would be 11.
All right, so you're in the air, you cut it a little, and then you got gallows. Now you're being lynched up into the air as the boat continues to drift down.
Wail my spirit.
All right.
Don't you
You're
have,
now
like, an
pulled
elbow
up.
distress call for your friends, man?
She is now pulled up out of sight. Completely disappears from sight. Your character will choke out here shortly.
Wow.
Next round.
I can be pulled
Okay.
up with her.
I'm gonna go for him because I can see
Yep.
him.
Yep. Oh, that's true. You can see her being pulled up above you. So, but yeah.
If I-
Oh, but
Yes! You did it.
what'd you get?
15.
With that a
With a great
push.
success.
Okay, good. But meanwhile, you have to take half of your fatigue and take it from your
See,
endurance.
This is the same as mine.
Okay.
Okay, so you're on the verge of passing out.
Okay.
Okay, but then the hobbit shoots you free and you go plummeting into the muck.
Okay.
Bloop.
Oh.
But you're not unconscious, so that's good. Saved you. But that one has been yanked up out of sight. You hear the crunching of bones.
Oh,
That's-
I'm dead.
All right.
Spirit.
We still had one more scene to get to, but we ran out of time. It's 9:02. So, but you guys at least got some of the mechanics. There were some more mechanics, like, because the next one was the really spooky one. Do you guys want to continue this?
I
heck
have
yeah.
to leave, so.
I don't mean
No, not
tonight.
tonight.
I don't mean tonight. either at Saturday's GM workshop, or what do we have Saturday's GM workshop lined up for? Do we?
What's actually scheduled?
Let me see if we. Yeah, sometimes we have
We're
stuff
off too
scheduled.
because Dan from Brazil didn't get to do his because we did do it.
He's going to be in town Saturday.
Oh my
yeah,
gosh.
that's right.
He's arriving Saturday around, what was it, 4-ish? Something like
4
that?
a.m. or 4 p.m.
4 p.m. 4 a.m. Oh my.
I just took my presents
I
to
know,
the airport
I know.
at 3 a.m.
I don't have anything showing assigned for the workshop. I don't show anybody assigned for that. Do you guys want to do that?
I can't be there.
No?
Wait, what time is it? Isn't
Okay.
it?
It would be 9 to 12. Well, actually, no, we were moving it. We were moving it. Are we moved to 10 or 11?
I thought you said 11 in the.
I think
Yeah,
11 to 2 is
11
what, yeah, we moved it to 11 to 2.
Well, I can't
I
be
need
there,
to
so.
check my calendar. It's,
Okay.
it's not an immediate no. It's I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be Saturday 11 to 2. So,
Okay.
John?
I need to check with
Okay.
I
Dan?
should be able to make it.
Okay. Riley?
Go. I cannot.
Cannot. Okay. Yes.
You'll play my character.
Yes.
So
That's
maybe
true.
next Thursday.
Next Thursday, I think it's theory.
Okay.
Next Monday.
Yeah, next Thursday's theory.
Something.
Monday is Carla running Doctor Who.
Ooh, I better remind her.
Yeah,
Did you ever
that's
get
the
around
25th.
your-
No, we need to reschedule that.
That's who got booped.
He got booped. Because he couldn't make it, and then we got snowed out. And
Then
then
we
we got
start
snowed out.
working on.
He'll need to do his too.
So yeah, you can play his character then, since he can't make it.
Okay, so the trick.
Since Riley can't make it, you can
because
play
I'm dead.
Riley's
Yeah.
character because yours is dead.
Okay, never mind. Now
Okay.
get it.
I
Okay.
just saw.
And then we'll just see what Katie's able to do.
It's all
Yeah.
myself. I'm
Wait.
doing
I
what
think I can, but I've got.
And you were no one's
Oh, I
focus,
don't.
so no one's going to take massive
Silent
points
Witch
from.
doesn't start
Till
early
3.
until
Where's that?
doesn't
Oh.
start early until March 2nd.
Oh,
my
okay,
God,
then
that's
you're
so
fine.
So
It was
that's
so
probably
bad.
okay.
Okay.
11
I
to
got
2.
into the
Yeah,
store and there
11
were
to 2?
so
Okay,
many
so John,
boxes
let's
of
find
jelly
out.
belly jelly beans.
Dan's a yes.
And I was
So everybody but Riley's a yes.
Yay.
Except for John, we're still waiting to find out. Okay.
And that's 11.
11 to 2 now is when we move those two, because
Okay.
early was harder for
And then-
people, so.
And then he'll be showing up at 4 afterwards.
Yeah,
So,
Oh, what are we,
So it'll work out.
yeah, that will work.
Dan from Brazil is coming up here
Are we
for
doing
5
anything?
days.
5 days. Nice.
Yeah. Oh, Monday he's going to go to East Washington University to talk to
When
Emily
does he
about the
physically
TR
arrive?
program.
Saturday at
4-ish
4-ish.
Yeah.
On
this Saturday.
this
Yep.
PM.
PM.
Does he know what snow is?
I don't
Yeah,
know.
figure it
Brazil
out.
has mountains. What?
That's a good question.
If he knows what snow is, it's opposite of what
I know he's a bit traveled. So
Okay.
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 Send me a text or
Because
email to
Terry
give me a
Desert-
deadline.
I was just
to be ready
Australia.
to run
My
first,
question was-
Dungeon Master 99 class.
Are we?
I just need to set a goal.
okay, you and I need to talk about that. So you send me an email and we'll set a time.
Okay.
So I've got people wanting us to do the paid workshops for the RPG 99
Okay.
rather than wait for the volunteer process.
Okay.
And I don't have time, and so I need, at least John, and if you can as well,
yeah,
to
and
train
I can
up,
definitely support.
because those will probably pay twice normal rate.
Yeah.
So, because if they're willing to pay what I'm asking, I can probably get you 40 an hour for those. But you have to really know it, which is the online material backwards
But
and
we have
forwards.
to.
And I still got to
redo-
fix. I've been working on it.
Okay.
But as long as you know everything that's there already, that's enough.
Okay.
I just have to
But you got to
know
know it backwards and forwards, right? You got to be able to.
memorized.
You got to know how to use you got to know how to do the presentation and everything, because it's a presentation style, and it'll probably either be at the office or at their facility.
Oh, don't you
Thank
have a
goodness I
package
have
at the
experience
office?
with that.
Oh yeah, I do. Darn it, I got to get down there.
Okay.
It's
could
a
other
late
people
Valentine's
pick it up?
Day.
So when,
No, it's a Valentine's Day thing. It's not
Oh.
not a work
so when
thing.
Dan's
I
up
accidentally
there, is
sent
he
it
gonna
there.
be running anything?
If we can, yeah, that'd be a
And
good
I
chance
was
for him to do
wondering
that.
if there's anything happening after he arrives.
I don't know. I'm frantically just trying. I gotta get the house cleaned up and get the room ready, and even without his visit, I am running on vapors.
I know.
So,
I was wondering if there was like dinner somewhere or something.
No, it's date night.
Oh,
Saturday night's date night, so he's gonna just have to chill.
Okay.
I'm assuming he's gonna be tired and just want to sleep.
Okay. If he doesn't
Sunday,
just want to sleep, I could pick him
Ooh,
up to
jet
the
lag.
airport.
yeah, exactly.
If he doesn't just want to sleep, I can pick him up from the airport since I live there.
My plan is I'll pick him up unless he's late. If he's late, then I might take you up on that.
Okay.
Because we have date night from 6 o'clock. So.
Yeah. That's why I'm also.
All right. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You have like the worst luck in this.
Oh God, yes. I always end up like this.
Not as bad as mine.
No, I'm alive usually, and I'm just whacking at whatever is entrapped
one way or
me.
another, you just keep on getting bound up.
I'm just thinking that was Saturday.
Not
I
giving
think this
any
is your
comment
second
on
I
this.
think that was coming out.
Not
Did she
making
get
any
trapped
comment on this.
in
Did you?
Dr. Phil?
Tried
Yeah.
so hard and it wasn't so good, and then.
It was
When you
either
really
awesome or
needed it.
bad.
See, and I do terribly all the time, but then every now and then, just when it was critical, it works out. I just save up all that little bit of mojo, that little tiny bit of mojo, right when it's needed.
I was going to
Poppy
say,
usually does much better than she
Yeah,
did
usually
tonight.
Poppy kicks rear.
if you
Well, she
maybe
got 20
need
dice
a break
this
one
year.
night since you're so tired, like I could maybe take him to a couple game stores or something around town.
Yeah, but
whatever.
she
Great.
doesn't usually roll
Yeah,
sour
no, that would
eyes
be great
all
to
the
give him a
time.
tour of the
I got
gaming
too many of
community and
those.
everything. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And
That's
actually,
also what
John,
I was thinking too.
we should probably try to have him do that with anything you're doing. Have him come to anything you're doing. Have him join any activities you're running gaming wise.
So how long's he here for?
Till the 1st. It's not that long. It's 23rd to the 1st, so till Friday.
So it's a week.
But
So
so we
when-
could do a Wednesday game.
Yeah, he can definitely come and
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
see what we're doing there.
Yeah. Anything else you can think of? Definitely, please. Yeah, that'll be great.
And I will see you
Saturday.
Yes.
Yep. Day after tomorrow. All right. So even though this was very instructional, did you guys enjoy what you were experiencing?
Oh heck yeah!
What do you think of the
And,
system?
I'm still getting used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think about how different it is? What do you think about those features?
Tomorrow is.
Friday.
I know. I'm trying to remember where we're at. Sparks.
Yes, we're at Spark tomorrow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the next question.
Half of them left.
Spark. Are you at Spark tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay, so it's 3 GM.
Spark and John.
Me.
Yeah.
Misha.
So yeah, 3.
3. Okay.
Yep. Good.
I hope you don't mind. I decided to make myself a brandy buck. I figure that might explain why
That's fine.
I'm not being like most hobbits and just staying home. Yeah, that's a funny thing because I'm used to a prosperous lifestyle and I'm purposely going out to where there isn't nice places to sleep. Not sure I thought that through all the way.
Yeah, I can do that much.
There's those.
See you Saturday.
See you Saturday. Take care.
These are just extras.
So what do you think of this system?
I like it. I like the gradients because that's one of the things that I've always kind of had a problem with D&D. It's either
All or
you do it
nothing.
or you don't.
Right, and then there's
And-
nothing like you get a really great roll, and it doesn't really make a difference.
Because
Right?
I always thought you should have like if you just like it's a hit roll.
Yes.
If you just barely make it, it's like
Yeah.
a glancing blow.
Yeah. My
All the way
crit,
up to
my
just a
modified,
monstrous-
so I have a D20 modified system that does that. The more you exceed what you needed to hit, the more damage you do, and the more likely you did a critical, like wounding, removing body parts and such. So,
And I also like the
thank you for joining us. Have a great night.
thanks for playing.